Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, everybody. It's a different time for y'all here. Let me get my face on the screen and the welcome button off. Man, my computer is moving slow here. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, man. I'm in the dark. I'm in the dark like Kylie. Whoa, you're up late, my dear. You're up late. Okay, come on. It's ridiculous. There you are. There I am. So we're at an unusual time. Hey, Donna, I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry. For everybody joining us earlier today, it's because at 4 p.m. Eastern, our typical time, we are doing a celebration for Donna here with Spring Winds because she's getting married. Your eyes are squinty. So I hope you'll join us at 4 o'clock. We're going to have about an hour and a half celebration tribute to Donna. It's going to be fun. I've got some fun things planned. So because of that, I thought we would do the updates this morning. And oh my God, tomorrow. Are you excited? Are you excited? Kylie says, I was going to bed a half an hour ago until I saw the notification had to eat a snack to stay awake. Oh my God, Kylie. Okay, well, we'll start with Darius McDougall. Have anybody heard locally? Have you heard any updates? So yes, Donna, I'm so excited for you. So excited for you. Okay, so let's just get into it. We're going to go through updates on like the crazy cases that we're covering. Gus Lamont, Melody Buzzard, which is crazier by the minute. And then, of course, I've got some Jack and Lily updates that I don't think a lot of you will have seen because they're channels that have got some interesting content, but they're not super well followed. You're welcome, my dear. So we're going to get through that. So let's start because Kaika's here all the way from Australia, or Kylie. I keep saying Kaika. I don't know why, Kylie. Let's start with Gus Lamont because that case, wow, is interesting. You know, it reminds me so much of the Jack and Lily case in that, you know, there's a lot of comments about nothing to see here for Lily and Jack. I know, sweetie, I know. But what I want you to hear, what I found, which is super interesting, is we'll talk about later, is the RCMP's welcome welcome back, Veronica. Is we'll talk about it later when we cover Jack and Lily. Is I emailed Kelly Snyder. He's been responding back and forth with me for the Find Me group, so I think he's going to come and talk to us about Jack and Lily. But because the RCMP don't apparently want them there. So we're going to talk about that. They don't apparently want them there. So why? Why don't they really want them there? So that's interesting for me. To me, is it because they don't want them to interfere in the interrogations or their ongoing investigation, maybe disrupting evidence? I don't really know. I might do a reading on that, but let's talk about that a little bit later. Thank you, Donna. Okay, so let's get into this for Kylie here, who's local to this case. I don't know if you've heard any updates, if you want to let us know, but is this why the police can't find Gus Lamont? This was yesterday, came out from the Daily Mail. Let's listen up. So if you don't know, Gus Lamont is 4 years old. He was reported missing from the southeastern Yunta territory in the South Australia outback, and he was let outside to play around 5 o'clock and on his own on the property, which is extremely, extremely remote. It's a sheep farm owned by his grandparents, and he was living there with his grandfather, who is now a transgender female, but they both grandparents biological, and his mother and his 1-year-old brother. And if you when we look at this property, you'll see that it's like a 40-kilometer road just to get to the outback, and you can see the dust rising, and grandma, Josie, who was a male, took a shotgun out to the Daily Mail. It was one of the reporters who showed up. And so the question is, could Gus have wandered off on his own? Just like the police are saying with Jack and Lily, they really seem to be focused on the child went out on his own, and yet there's no sign of them anywhere. So it reminds me a lot of Jack and Lily in that case, where there's literally no evidence of anything. And the narrative is he walked out and got lost. So yeah, it's just an interesting story. So let's listen to this update from the Daily Mail, because I think it discusses what I feel is a narrative that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Impossible that a stranger could have abducted him. I spoke to Ken Gamble, one of Australia's top private investigators. Mr. Gamble says Gus's abilities may have been underestimated. He says the early search should have looked far beyond the initial 2-kilometre radius. When Daily Mail tried to speak to Josie Murray on the property recently, she brandished a pump-action shotgun at our reporter.
Sorry, I just...
Get out! Are you deaf?
Okay.
It's been more than 6 weeks since little Gus Lamont went missing on September 27. He's believed to have wandered off from his parents' remote sheep station in Yunta, which is about 230 kilometres north of Adelaide. His grandmother, Shannon Murray, was the last person to see him when he was playing in a mound of sand outside of the family homestead around 5 p.m. of that evening. No sign of Gus has been found since, despite multiple land, air and waterway searches from police, the Army and the SES. Various explanations for Gus's disappearance have been talked about, from disused mine shafts to wild animals. Police seem to be no nearer to working out what has become of the missing child. In fact, there seem to be more unanswered questions now than there were when he first vanished. Many conspiracy theories have circulated online, all as unlikely as the next. People have been particularly fixated on the theory that perhaps a wild animal got to Gus. Dingoes, a wild dog, have previously been responsible for abducting small children here in Australia. But there are precious few dingoes around in South Australia, and farmers tend to shoot them on sight. The region is also protected by a 1,200-mile-long dog fence. Crocodiles, which inhabit the tropical regions in Australia, are not found in the south. Gus is too big to have been taken by an eagle, and if he was attacked by a wild pig, some of which are in the area, there would have been signs of a bloody struggle. Local topography makes it almost impossible that a stranger could have abducted him. The nearest major road is the Barrier Highway, which takes long-distance truckers to New South Wales from South Australia. But to reach it, Gus would have had to walk about 30 kilometres. If he had wandered off and simply perished, many would have thought that his remains would have been found by now.
Exactly. And if you saw the clip when the Daily Mail showed up and grandfather, now grandmother Josie, was there with a rifle to greet her, and we've watched on this channel prior to this, you can see the dust from the cars approaching like miles, kilometers and kilometers away. There is no way that somebody would have gotten onto that property without that grandfather knowing about it. Just my opinion. And so the theory was he either walked off and fell down a wombat hole or whatnot, but they've been out there just like Jack and Lily searching. They're going to go back for their 4th time. They've drained the dam that was on the property. He wasn't there. And it's flat and it's open. Yes, there's some shrubs here and there, but don't forget it's like desert. It's flat. So it's not like we're talking about mountains like Jack and Lily here. They've scoured with dogs and drones and people over and over and over again. Veronica. Well, you never know in this day and age, who knows? But mysteriously, there was another gentleman whose car was found abandoned, who also disappeared the day before. Is that connected? I don't know. I don't really know, but I just find it interesting that they keep looking at the same narrative over and over and over again. Like that grandmother doesn't look stable to me. And the father's doesn't look much better. No, I know. Poor Gus, it's sad. He's a cute little kid.
I spoke to Ken Gamble, one of Australia's top private investigators. He has speculated where police may have gone wrong in their search for Gus. When police first arrived on the evening Gus went missing, they immediately began a ground search within a 2-kilometre radius. But 6 days later, the search was scaled back. It wasn't until authorities returned days later that they widened the operation again, this time to a 5-kilometre radius. Mr. Gamble says Gus's abilities may have been underestimated. He says the early search should have looked far beyond the initial 2-kilometre radius.
Mm-hmm.
He says if it were up to him, he would have launched a wide-scale, group-based search covering 7 to 8 kilometres from the outset. A massive sweep that could have captured any direction the little boy might have travelled. You would think in that terrain that there would be footprints if he had walked off, Mr. Gamble said, noting that the one lone footprint matching a boot Gus was thought to be wearing was discovered in the dust. It is unusual behaviour for a child to just run off into the bush. It's not normal. But if he did go and do that, he could have gone in any direction and he could have gone a significant distance.
You know, Kylie Ray, I am starting to wonder about the mother and the father. They are said to be living separately and have done so for years, but are still in a relationship. Like they didn't separate their relationship. They just live like was living 3 hours away. I suspect because he wasn't getting along with the grandfather, Josie, now grandmother, is my intuition. And so I know I picked up energetically that there's somebody that has a beef that feels like they've been thrown out of the family farm, if you will. And by the way, it's grandma's dad who owned this farm, not the grandmother now, Josie, was transgendered into a female. It was Grandma Shannon and Jessica, Gus's mom's side of the family that where this farm came from. And for some reason, it seems, Kylie, you can answer that if locally, it seems to me from my research that there's a belief that granddad had before he passed away that the farm should go back to a male in the family. But I think it's in Shannon's name. And I'm really picking up energy. Somebody feels miffed about that. And I'm just wondering about dad and mom. Um, I don't know. Let's just keep listening. Dad and mom potentially. Dad has come out from the woodwork, which we'll see here in a minute, but mom still hasn't been seen since his disappearance.
Police can underestimate just how far someone, especially an energetic little boy, can wander. The boy's family, which includes parents Josh Lamont and Jessica Murray, grandmother Shannon Murray, and transgender grandparent Josie Murray, have refused to speak publicly. When Daily Mail tried to speak to Josie Murray on the property recently, she brandished a pump-action shotgun at our reporter.
Who are you?
Pardon?
Who are you?
I'm with the media.
Out! You are trespassing. Get out!
I'm so sorry.
Get out! Are you deaf?
Okay. I was leaving.
Get out!
I was leaving.
Shut your face and get out! We'll have the police on you because you've been warned not to come here. Now get out!
I haven't been here
Get
before.
out!
I haven't been here before.
What are you deaf? Get out!
The other grandparent, Shannon, was the last person to see the 4-year-old on the evening of September 27, when he was playing in the sand outside the family homestead at 5 p.m. When she went to call him at 5:30 p.m, he was gone. It has been speculated within the community near Yunta that the Murrays may now look to sell the Oak Park station that has been in their family for generations, passed down through Shannon's family line. It's believed the couple are in their 70s and their only child is Gus's mother, Jessica, who insiders say may not be able to carry on the family legacy after the trauma of losing her son. At the time that Gus vanished, Jessica's partner, Joshua Lamont, was at his own farmhouse in Balaley North, around a 2-hour drive from Oak Park Station. However, he now appears to have moved into another home, which is understood to be owned by Shannon and Josie Murray. Joshua refused to speak to a Daily Mail reporter when approached on Tuesday. Jessica has not been seen since Gus vanished on September 27. It is understood that she remains at Oak Park Station with her 1-year-old son, Ronnie, who she also shares with Joshua. SA Police Chief Grant Stevens said that they would return to Oak Park Station for further searches and that they have not yet given up on finding Gus. SA Police drained 3.2 million litres of water from a dam near the property last month, but found no trace of the boy. The dam is around 600 metres from the homestead and is thought to have been about 4.5 metres deep.
So police have returned today to the Oak Park Station near Yunta in the continued search for Gus Lamont. Today we'll be focusing on draining a dam which is about 600 metres from the property. It's only about 4.5 metres deep. I stress the dam has already been searched by Water Operations Unit, but just out of a sense of thoroughness, we were going to drain the dam just to check where the low-lying areas amongst the vegetation. This will complete today, and in terms of the drone searching that was undertaken, that has been assessed. Regrettably, nothing of any significance came from that drone footage, but over the next coming weeks, we'll continue to assess the aerial footage that was taken more broadly across the property to see if there's any information from that leads us to any lines of inquiry.
Commissioner Stevens said there have been 2 reviews into the search efforts.
We've done minimum of 2 reviews in relation to the searching exercise from the moment we were advised of Gus having gone missing. Peer reviews by experts who have taken an objective view as to whether or not there could have been things done differently. Those reviews have identified opportunities to enhance what we've done, but there's been no criticism of the search effort from the moment we were notified. Acting on the advice from survivability experts, doctors, medical staff in relation to exactly what the likelihood of Gus, how far Gus might travel and how long he was able to survive without any support or assistance. There is no evidence of foul play at this time, but as I've said publicly before, we are still open to any possibilities that might have resulted in Gus having gone missing.
Despite 3 previous major search operations involving SAPOL, AirPol, the SES and the ADF, Gus has still not been found.
It's so yeah, and the narrative is still very much that they walked out the back door which, yes, for those coming in, please don't forget to join us for a celebration party. We're going to celebrate at 4 p.m. Eastern, just a 90-minute live to celebrate Donna's upcoming wedding tomorrow. I can't wait. So it's going to be fun. So please join us for that. And then, yeah, so that's why we're doing the live, the updates on the cases a little bit earlier today than we normally do. So we're starting off with Gus Lamont and just some interesting updates to the case, that perspectives that I haven't covered here yet, because I just think they've missed the boat here. I just don't think that this child at this point is like Jack and Lily, that he walked away, did not expect this much attention. Exactly. And I find it interesting now that they're looking to sell the property, because I was picking up on the energy that there's something about this property that is related to a family squabble that is related to the disappearance of Gus. I don't know what that is, but let's keep watching.
I don't know about you, but I thought there was a distant chance that Gus might be with his biological father, Josh.
This is for true crime rocket science, and I thought the same thing, but I'm not so sure now. Let's listen up.
After all, many of these incidents when children disappear typically involve family members, typically involve a kind of a custody situation, an untenable custody situation. But the fact that the cops zeroed in on Josh right in the beginning and actually woke him up at his home always made this possibility the longest of long shots. And now, thanks to the Daily Mail, we can scratch this idea off the list of possibilities as well. According to the Mail, Gus Lamont's father, Joshua, has broken cover for the first time in more than a month. Well, I'm not sure it's a case that he broke cover or that the Daily Mail tracked him down, but they are right about this next point. Still no closer to learning what has happened to his 4-year-old boy since he vanished in the South Australian outback weeks ago, the tragic ordeal appears to be taking its toll on the former country musician.
Yeah, it's sad here. We're going to hear here that he was getting prepared to bring Gus closer to him to avoid a long haul into daycare, because he was living 3 hours away and he was registered to go to school and everything. So yeah, it seems like there's something, it's also got the Sebastian Rogers vibe a little bit too, it's kind of got a little bit of both cases involved in it.
Mr. Lamont was pictured on Tuesday looking distinctly more pale and thin than older photos, his red hair and beard flecked with grey as he appeared to be going to work, dressed in tradie hivers. Quite a far cry from the glamour days as this country musician. And you can see the emotion, the heartache in Josh's eyes. Look closer.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me so much.
Now, when briefly approached for comment by the Daily Mail, the devastated father reacted angrily. Well, is that anger or grief? Perhaps both. One has to feel for Josh, who left his dilapidated property and who last month seemed to be staying with his brother Samuel. At the time, his brother told the Daily Mail that Joshua wasn't ready to be interviewed about his missing son. But when asked again on Tuesday if there had been any change, Samuel loudly shouted to get off the property now. Echoes of this, I guess.
Who are you?
Pardon?
Who are you?
I'm with the media.
Thank you, Kylie.
Out!
Thank you.
You are trespassing. Get out!
I'm so sorry.
Get out! Are you deaf?
Now, it seems Jess married someone not unlike
Hope.
Gus's grandparent, someone feisty. But Josh is no longer with Samuel.
Nice to see you, Hope, my dear.
So where is he now? Josh Lamont now appears to be living in Adelaide, more than 290 kilometers away from where his son was last seen. Daily Mail understands he's staying in a home owned by Shannon and Josie, despite multiple sources recently claiming he didn't get along with Jess's parents. Now, this must mean there's been some sort of progress in terms of his relationship with his in-laws. It could also be that Shannon has basically been the one to offer this accommodation. It also shows once again how much power grandparents wield in this dynamic, if only financial power.
And that's enough.
According to the Daily Mail, the Murrays have owned the property in Adelaide's northwestern suburbs since 2009, and it's now worth more than $1 million Australian dollars. I actually did some research of my own, and thanks very much to Mark for sending me the document. And I see that both Shannon and Josie, formerly Robert, inherited the farm from Shannon's father. It was after that happened, as I understand it, that Robert, now Josie, transitioned. In my opinion, Shannon's father would not have left his property to Robert if Robert had transitioned when he was still alive. On page 17 of Vincent Pfeiffer's last will and testament, which is a matter of public record in Australia, Gus's great-grandfather bequeathed this to Josie. It's point number 6, and I think it's actually on page 3, not 17. I give and devise unto my said son-in-law all my estate and interest in that piece of land situated in the county of Herbert, being block 17, and being the whole of the land presently comprised in Land Grant Register Book Volume 1049, Folio 15, which said land is presently owned by my said daughter and myself as tenants in common and known as Grampus. Vincent also gave away property in Adelaide to Shannon. It's not clear if this is the same property Josh has been staying in. Point 10 is also interesting. I declare that if any child of my said daughter and my said son-in-law shall be a minor at the date of my death, then my trustees may, at their discretion, pay any share of any such child in the residue of my estate to his or her parent or guardian for the time being, and any such payment shall be a good discharge to my trustees, who shall not be bound to see to the further application thereof. What does this mean? Well, I'm not sure if it's applicable, because I don't think Gus was born at the time of Vincent's death, but I could be wrong. I mean, it is possible that some sort of allocation that would normally accrue to Shannon and Josie might now be available to Josh according to his needs, especially as he was ready to go to school. Even if it wasn't strictly applicable, one can imagine that the situation would have arisen sort of organically anyway, that whatever was in the pot now has got to be distributed to, there's another mouth to feed, and then another one with Ronnie as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And Kylie, no, I didn't get that email from you, honey. But yes, it is Veronica. It's very confusing. But it would appear that Gus and his brother could well trigger the necessity to give some of the proceeds to Josh and Jessica. And now they want to sell the property, and Gus is missing. So I don't know. What do you all think? Tell me what you think below. Do you think Gus walked away, or there's something more nefarious going on here? Let me know.
And we can see that Gus may have required a lot of resources since Josh wasn't really in a position to provide. Who knows, these growing demands, especially with a second child on the cards, may have caused a strain or tensions, if only financially. And you can imagine Josh simply wanting to visit his child causing tensions. Now, whatever the reality of this case, one of the most mysterious figures is Jess, Gus's mother. A rare image of Jessica, according to the Daily Mail, in which she wears a formal black outfit with the addition of 8 piercings in one ear, shows her supporting her musician partner at a state award show. Another picture taken at the event shows them posing in front of a media wall. Mr. Lamont was the frontman of Adelaide country band The Cut Snakes, who won a People's Choice Award at the Bonnython Hall event. Now, it seems as if that family has fallen on hard times since those photos were taken, doesn't it? And with the arrival of Gus. And now with his disappearance, things have only gotten even harder, even more difficult. Other friends have described Jess as introverted and shy, and it's believed she rarely joined her partner, who's far more outgoing, on the road as he toured rural South Australian pubs with the Cut Snakes. On Wednesday, a source close to the couple revealed they did not live together because Mr. Lamont clashes with Josie Murray. The insider explained the couple...
Oh, so it wasn't a rumor. So Josh, Gus's father, doesn't get along well with Josie, transgender grandmom, who was granddad. No kidding. I mean, I don't think very many people get along with that person, that he, given the behavior there. And yeah, I agree, Donna. There's probably some testosterone. And, you know, I'm not going to get into the whole transgender conversation because I don't want to create conflict here. But I just don't know what that does to your body. I just wonder if that can create some mental health issues that are associated to the ongoing changes in your physiology.
A commuter relationship with Josh, living at a basic farmhouse in Ballali North near Jamestown, a 2-hour drive from Oak Park. His brother Samuel insisted that Mr. Lamont was once a country singer performing in South Australian pubs under the name Billy T, was in no state to talk to anyone. And apparently he is still in no state to talk to anyone, yet he is able to go to work. And it's hard for me to imagine someone in a band, someone who's basically an extrovert, someone who played to raucous crowds in the past, suddenly becoming a shrinking violet. You know, someone who, I guess, gave a press conference when he won this award. Well, now he has become kind of shy, a shrinking violet. He has nothing to say. And that's hard to imagine unless he was told to.
Shut your face!
And if he didn't shut his face, perhaps he'd have to get out. Does that apply to anyone else as well? Does that apply to
Oh,
everyone
God.
else? Now, none of this means any of Gus's family are involved in his disappearance, but it is rare where we are, where are we, 6 weeks later, to have not a single member of Gus's family appeal directly to the media for help, for tips, but instead they've had others do so once or twice on their behalf. It's also rare for the mother to disappear completely under these circumstances as well, although we saw something similar in the disappearance of Jack and Lily Sullivan earlier this year in Canada. But I do believe that their mother, did make one appearance before she disappeared. And she also ended up leaving the property. Now, one wonders how much of what happened in that case is pertinent in this one. For example, polygraph tests.
The documents reveal that as of July 16th, investigators did not believe the case was criminal. By that point, 6 polygraph tests had been done, including on both Brooks Murray and Martel. They were also done on Martel's mother, on Brooks Murray's mother and her partner, and on the children's biological father.
Huh. Well, as that happened in this case, and what do you think? Is that necessary? It's also not clear where and when the fourth search that has been mooted is going to take place.
Well, police have announced another search.
They have, Will. This will be the fourth, and all indications are it's unlikely to be the last either. Grant Stevens has also defended police search efforts over the past 5 weeks. He says 2 reviews were carried out by experts, but they found no criticism of the tactics used by police.
Well, I have one criticism, and that is Gus has still not been found, and that's not good. Anyway, that is my criticism. I don't think you can pat yourself on the back and congratulate yourself when it's basically a situation that's unsolved. I don't think you should say there's nothing else we can do and there's nothing we can be criticized for. I think you've got to be self-critical and think about the things you aren't doing. Anyway, that's my view. Well, I'm not going to take it further than that. Thank you for listening.
Here I am talking and I'm muted. So I also find it frustrating. Like, when do the authorities start to discuss the fact that maybe there's another theory? Like, it's just crazy. Yeah, there's something wrong with him, in my opinion, her. And I really wonder, at what point will the Australian authorities, is it going to take 4 searches? We know Jack and Lily, that the please bring me back home, are going out this weekend to search. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Because of the RCMPs not wanting to be out there, I believe, is what I'm getting, what I picked up on. Well, what I heard, and we're going to listen to that. So I just don't understand, how many times does it take to go and search for the same child before you say, okay, maybe we better look at another theory. Meanwhile, time is running away with them. And I just don't get it. I don't get why they continue, police agencies around the world, to be so narrowly focused when they can't prove their own freaking theory. They can't. It's just wild to me. And in this case, it would have to be somebody that could get close enough to the barn, if he didn't walk away, to the farmhouse, which would only be family or somebody that worked there. I just don't get. You saw how remote it was. You see how flat it is. You've got drones, you've got police, you've got the military went out, you've got canine dogs, they had horses. I mean, they've drained the pond. What more? What else do you need? There's no blood evidence that he was attacked by an animal and carried off. You just saw the report that he would have been too big for certain animals, that the crocodiles don't even exist in that area of Australia. So how could he have been taken away and just wandered away? And yet there's not one piece of evidence to substantiate that. Did you see that though, Lois? Because I heard it was a possible theory, and actually Kylie is local, and I know somebody local also said that Gus was seen 2 days prior in town. If you want to check out the other email I did about that, because somebody local did some digging, I read that email, and he was seen 2 days prior in town at a medical appointment. So that rumor I dismissed because of that. So that's Lisa. I was just talking about that, honey. So I think yeah, no worries, Lois. You can go and check, because we have somebody local, boots on the ground here, communicating with us. They did some due diligence, and he was seen 2 days earlier. So that's why I dismissed that theory, because I was wondering that myself. But I think the theory is, you know, maybe he did disappear a day before or whatnot, but I know they took 3 hours from the time they found that he was missing to report it to the police. Even that to me is suspicious. 3 hours with 3 adults on the property, and you have 5 buildings, maybe, I haven't counted them, I'm guessing 5 buildings. How does it take you 3 hours to search for him and find out he's not in those buildings? I don't know. There's something about this family I don't trust. I don't know them, so I shouldn't say that so wholeheartedly, but there's something about them that doesn't feel right to me. And that was before I saw the brandishing of the shotgun. So this article, November 11th, was just posted a couple days ago, and it says the dad of missing Gus Lamont is seen for the first time in 6 weeks as the unimaginable strain of the hunt for his 4-year-old son takes a brutal toll. Gus Lamont's father, Joshua, has broken cover for the first time in more than a month. Still no closer to learning what has happened to this 4-year-old boy since he vanished in southern Australia outback weeks ago, the tragic ordeal appeared to be taking its toll on the former country musician. Mr. Lamont was pictured on Tuesday looking distinctly more pale and thin than older photos, his red hair and beard flecked with gray as he appeared to be going to work dressed in a trade high-vis. When briefly approached by comment by the Daily Mail, the devastated father reacted angrily. So it seems to be an issue with this family, with some temperament issues with the media. His son, Gus, vanished from his maternal grandmother's remote outback station 40 kilometers south of Yunta on the evening of September 27th. I just want to add to the comments that what I did learn was that, like Deceptive Detective says, it's common for guilty people to use the number 3. Yeah, where are we seeing the 3? Where are we seeing the 3? I don't know where you're seeing the 3. Did I just read something and just totally blanked out? But we are hearing that there was apparently somebody at the beginning that tried to interject with the family and talk, heard them reportedly saying something like, "You can't help us with this, get out." Oh, I said 3 hours, sorry. 3 hours, yes, I did. Oh my God. Yeah, so 3 hours. Well, that's the time that I read. That took them 3 hours, which is weird. So Gus vanished from the maternal grandparents' remote outback station 40 kilometers south of Yunta on the evening of September 27th. And it's essentially a private road down to their house. It's essentially a private road down to their house. And again, we've shown this on this channel before. You can see the dust miles away from the cars coming into their property, which is essentially 40 kilometer private road to get to the 60,000 hectare sheep farm that they lived in. And you got brandishing shotgun grandma, and you could see the cars and hear the cars coming a mile away. I don't think anybody that didn't know them got close to that house to take them, which means if he didn't walk away, it had to be inside the family. Just my thoughts. So the police say he was last seen playing in a pile of sand in front of the homestead around 5 p.m. by grandmother Shannon Murray. When she went to call him in at 5:30 p.m., he was gone. The other thing that I find really interesting is the exactness of these times. Did she call? Did she go check on him at exactly 5:30? At the time, Gus's other grandparent, Josie Murray, and his mother, Jessica Murray, were tending sheep 10 kilometers away from the homestead. So there's this father. It's really sad. It's really quite sad here. And then you've got little Gus here, long-haired Gus. Now, the other thing that is also interesting is it took the family apparently like 30 days or something crazy to come up with a picture of Gus. Like, I don't know. I've been a mother. I've been a grandfather. I don't know. Is that for me, Kaika? I have 1,001 pictures of my grandkids. I'm taking pictures nonstop of my grandkids and my kids. So I find that really interesting that it took them months to find a picture, or like a month, 30 days or something crazy to find a picture of little Gus. That is weird. We saw the same thing in Sebastian Rogers. Josh was living in a ramshackle $80,000 farmhouse in Bellely North, a 2-hour drive away from the Lamont Outback sheep station, while still in a relationship with Jess. So yeah, they were still in a relationship. There's all these open marriages these days where they're living apart, but because I think Josh didn't get along, as it just stated, with transgender Josie. I don't think very many people get along with that transgender Josie. Sources say he was renovating the debilitated property to allow his young family, which also includes 1-year-old son Ronnie, to move in and settle down. The house now stands eerily empty. Last month, Joshua appeared to be staying with his brother Samuel. At the time, his brother told Daily Mail that Joshua wasn't ready to be interviewed about his missing son, but when asked again on Tuesday if there had been any change, Samuel loudly shouted, "Get off the property now." Many questions remained unanswered as police continue to search for Gus near his maternal grandparents' remote station south of Yunta. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's interesting also that the family has not come out and made a public statement? Like, that is so bizarre. And like, at least Malaya came out once. Jessica has said nothing. And I can appreciate she might be shy, but this is your missing child. Now, is that because they firmly believe that he just walked out the backyard, so there's nothing to discuss? Or do they not want to talk to the media? It just seems bizarro that nobody at this point is saying, like the police aren't saying, is there another narrative? Is there another narrative here? I don't know. So think about this. You've got mom and dad silent, still in a relationship, dad living 2 or 3 hours away, preparing a cabin so that the whole family can move in because he doesn't get along with granddad, and suddenly grandmom, dad, granddad, and suddenly the child vanishes. It's very interesting. So Josh now appears to be living in Adelaide, more than 290 kilometers away from where his son was last seen. The Daily Mail understands he is staying in a home owned by Shannon and Josie, despite multiple sources recently claiming he didn't get along with Jess's parents. Well, maybe he didn't. You guys just said it yourselves in the same article. The Murrays have owned the property in Adelaide, northwestern suburbs, since 2009. It's now worth more than $1 million. So they have some money, this family, because they own more than one property. And we just heard true crime rocket science, if he did his due diligence, which he is known to do, saying that the farmhouse is valued near $1 million as well. So these people have some money, and if they're starting to close down their properties, maybe there's some greed involved here. I'm not quite sure. Jessica has not been seen since Gus vanished on September 27th. It is widely understood that she remained at Oak Park Station, where she was living with her parents, Gus, and 1-year-old Ronnie, the other son she shares with Josh. However, a source close to Jessica told the Daily Mail exclusively that Yunta locals believe the grieving mother is in hiding. Why is the grieving mother in hiding? It's not suggested any family members are involved in Gus's disappearance, and the police say they believe the boy wandered off. She probably got the hell out of there in the weeks after it happened, or is staying with a neighbor, the source said. Jessica is understood to have attended school locally before skipping year 12 and going straight to university. Family friends have described her as extremely bright, but also very shy. Friends of Josh has recently revealed he works as a handyman after years of touring the South Australian pub and rodeo scene as a frontman of country music band The Cut Snakes. So there they are. It's all so strange. I mean, I don't know. I'm old school, I guess, these open relationships, but I really believe that there's got to be something here with this family dynamic going on. I don't know. It's also claimed he did not live in Oak Park Station with his partner and children due to not getting along with Josie. Instead, he shared a commuter relationship with Jess. On October 31st, police returned to Gus's family property for the third time to drain the 3.2 million liters of water from a dam on the property, but heartbreakingly, they found nothing of significance. Last week, the SA Police Commissioner Grant Stevens revealed there has been an independent review of their search for Gus. We've done a minimum of 2 reviews in relation to the searching exercise from the moment we were advised that Gus has gone missing, he said. Peer reviews, but experts who also take an objective view of whether or not things could have gone differently. Those reviews have identified opportunities to enhance what we've done, but there is no criticism of the search effort. He has not ruled out returning to Oak Park Station for a 4th search. We've been acting on the advice of survivability experts, doctors, medical staff, in relation to how far Gus may travel and how far he'd be able to survive without any support or assistance, he said. There was a factor that dictated how far we would search and how long. We are continuing to go back. Because we're still committed to recovering Gus for the family, so everybody has some sense of closure to what's occurred in Yanta. Well, I mean, they're not committed to another theory. So I just am really curious to see, after they go back a 4th time, are they going to change the narrative? Are they going to change the narrative? Could she also be missing, gone like Gus? Well, this is weird, right? So you've got, okay, think about this. You've got the car abandoned, that they are looking for the man who owned the car in that sort of area. I think maybe an hour away, or though, like not right there, but not far in that remote area. That owner of that vehicle is also missing. The day before Gus went missing, that car was found to be abandoned. The day before. Now you got mom missing. It's just interesting. And why the police aren't talking about that is also very curious, right? Like, they're not even discussing that. So I'm just going to show this last article, and then we're going to get into Melody Buzzard and some Jack and Lily updates. This is the last article for Gus. There's not as much coverage of him. But yeah, it's sad. It's really sad. Let's see if the video is going to load. I can't get the video to load, so I'll read it. Okay, so this was reported yesterday. As the investigation into the disappearance of little Gus Lamont continues, a worldwide peer support group for families grieving the loss of a child has revealed the overwhelming pain and devastation that the family must be experiencing. South Australian police have confirmed that there is no immediate intention to initiate a 4th search of the Oak Hill Sheep Station outside of Yunta, where the 4th child disappeared, as the major crime squad continues to search for the lead. On that fateful Saturday evening in South Australia outback, Josie Murray called for help as her grandson was nowhere to be found after she last saw him playing on the Sound Hill close to the homestead. The house is located on a massive 150,000-acre station of an army of police, ADF, and SES personnel have scoured the area on multiple occasions in the hope of finding the child, initially as a search and rescue and now a recovery operation. Gus is a little 4-year-old blonde, curly-haired, smiling-faced young fellow who has been missing from the farm property about 43 kilometers south of the township of Yunta, SA Police Assistant Commissioner Erin Parrott explained. The last time Gus was seen by the families was approximately at 5 p.m. that night, which was September 27th. And when a family member came out later in the evening and they were calling him back inside, they couldn't find him. He's been described as an adventurous child, shy, but he's also a pretty good walker. But he's never left the property with any distance previously that we're aware of. Gus's father, Joshua Lamont, has spent years renovating a small cottage on a 10-acre property that he purchased an hour's drive from the sprawling station where his son disappeared in the hope the family would reunite under one roof. As final works on the property in the Belleville North were due to be completed, tragedy struck, and one of the nation's biggest ever missing persons searches began. So again, the timing is really curious to me that they were preparing to move Gus in and Jessica into this family in cabin with dad, who has been renovating this property just before Gus disappears, or just as Gus disappears. So as the story of the August Lamont has made headlines around the world, his family pleaded for privacy in a heartfelt statement just over a week after his disappearance and after advice from the police. Oh boy, this has come as a shock to our family and friends. So this statement is the only statement ever given, and it was not given by family, it was given by a family friend. Did I skip something? No. This comes as a shock to our family and friends, and we are struggling to comprehend what has happened. Gus's absence is felt in all of us, and we miss him more than words can express, the statement said. Our hearts are aching, and we are holding on to hope that he will be found and returned to us safely. So at this time, we kindly ask for privacy as we focus all of our energy on supporting the search and working closely with the police. The Compassionate Friends is a worldwide support organization offering understanding, friendship, and hope for families grieving the death of a child, sibling, or grandchild at any age and from any cause. TCF South Australia is a non-profit organization run by volunteers and a committee of bereaved parents, siblings, or grandparents who rely on grants, donations, and fundraising to offer free support to grieving families via their helpline, community events, and monthly grief support meetings. We can certainly understand the overwhelming pain and devastation that Gus's family must be experiencing, said a spokesperson for TCFSA. We recognize that while the concept of stages of grief is often used as a reference, grief does not follow a predictable or linear path. So I wanted to read this because I thought, maybe we could play devil's advocate for a minute and maybe see, is the family behaving erratically? Are they potentially still grieving? And so, still grieving. They're probably just starting the process of grieving in awe and shock still. So, I thought maybe we could learn a little bit here. So people may experience a range of emotions such as denial, anger, guilt, depression, or acceptance, but not necessarily in a set order. These feelings can come and go over time, and no two individuals grieve in the same way. Many parents may never reach what is often described as the acceptance stage, as the emotional toll and strain are profound. Grief is often described by bereaved parents as a hole or void in the heart that creates a constant ache and will always remain. Others describe it as a physical pain. Coping mechanisms. Although the case is very much an active investigation, 6 weeks after Gus vanished, TCFSA search says reaching out to others for assistance may be the first step to rationalizing the gut-wrenching situation Gus's family finds themselves in. Healthy coping often involves allowing yourself to grieve in your own time and way, maintaining connection with others who understand, and finding ways to honor and remember the child, the spokesperson said. So, that's interesting, because in finding ways to honor the child, you would think they would want the media to talk about this. But for many parents, talking with others who also have experienced the loss of a child provides a unique sense of understanding and hope. Attending support groups, journaling, engaging in creative or physical outlets, and practicing self-care can all be helpful. Within our group, many family members find comfort in knowing they are not alone, having a space to talk, cry, listen, and share how they've managed each day, week, month, or year. Some find it meaningful to maintain connections with their child's friendship group. Returning home, sadly, Gus's grandparents' homestead and his father's property may be proving a constant reminder that the little boy with the cheeky smile is gone. Many parents find returning home difficult, especially if it's filled with reminders of their child. I mean, so that could be why they've fled. I also suspect they don't want the media. But Gus's mother fleeing seems curious to me. Is Gus's mother involved or worried that the grandparents did something? Like, where is she? It's really curious. Some choose to make small changes in their environment, while others keep things as if they were for a time. There is no right or wrong approach. Each family finds their own way to navigate this part of the journey. Christmas can be particularly a difficult time of year for myself and many others. Being at home can be too painful, so we may choose to spend time away, whether that's a short holiday, a different environment, or surrounding ourselves with supportive friends. That I get. That I totally understand maybe what they're doing, Mom. TCFSA provides a compassionate space for where families share their situation with others who have brought a similar experience. And while not professional counselors, the group has established a line of referral to the appropriate professional or specialists. So there's the helpline, but it's, Australia. So if you or anybody has ever lost a grandchild, and you're grieving, there's the TCFSA helpline. The national helpline is 1-300-064-068. So now we're going to pray for Gus's return, safe return. Hopefully he's alive and they find him soon. We're going to get into, we're just going to look at some comments here, and then we're going to get into Melody Buzzard. That's another crazy case before we get into Jack and Lily. It's small, like the only one bedroom old ex-worker's stone cabin. He got cheap on a tiny bit of land. No way. So it wouldn't fit a family? So then what's the narrative then? Why is the narrative, Kylie, that he was fixing it up for them to all move in? That's so bizarre. Well, this is it, Mary Carey. Like, if he was playing outside, like the excuse that Josie with the brandishing shotgun had to the police when that Daily Mail reporter, we've played it here before, reported that brandishing shotgun episode to the police. His excuse was he was shooting snakes, and we've learned that it's illegal to shoot snakes out there. They're a protected species. So that excuse of why he had his shotgun doesn't float. And also, if that is that dangerous that you need to brandish a shotgun with animals that may come up on your property, why are you leaving a 4-year-old small child unattended outside? The two don't coincide. The two don't make sense. No way. Interesting. That's very interesting. So, very interesting. So that's the narrative, but what's really been going on with Dad at that property, if he's not cleaning it up, that's a very, very interesting. Okay, we will continue to monitor the Gus Lamont case and update you as we see anything new coming in, and we hope that he's found. Now it's time to turn our attention to the crazy case of Melody Buzzard. Melody Buzzard, for those of you that don't know, I'm sure a lot of you have heard it now. We started covering it right away. I think it was also the same day. Was it also the same day? I'm now losing my days. No, I don't think it was the same day, but she's been reported missing. How this went on for so long is bewildering. Mom has known mental health issues, Ashley Buzzard. It's been reported that Dad died in a car accident, I think it was 2016, and that the grandparents were trying to get, of Dad's side, the paternal grandparents of Melody, were attempting to get custody of their granddaughter because Mom Ashley was said to have mental health issues. Then in October, a month ago now, 5 weeks ago now, Mom Ashley Buzzard doesn't have a car and gets a rental car and takes Melody Buzzard, her daughter, all the way from California, all the way out to the East Coast. And she rents cars, and they're wearing wigs. They're spotted on cameras, and she's changing the license plates Last week, we heard she was arrested. I said in my reading, they wouldn't hold her for very long. And lo and behold, yesterday, she went free because it was an unrelated charge. And she has yet to tell them where Melody is. So let's listen in, because it's getting a little concerning. It's getting very concerning, actually.
Case that we've been following for weeks now, the missing 9-year-old girl, Melody Buzzard. Boy, has there been a development there. This little face with the $1 million smile has been in our thoughts for over a month now. And as it turns out, we've got something to tell you about her mother. Sadly, we do not know where Melody Buzzard is tonight, nor who, if anybody, may have tucked her in at bedtime. We don't even know whether the little 9-year-old girl ate dinner tonight, and frankly, we don't know if she's even still alive. And it's been a month and 3 days since she was last seen. Her mother, Ashley Buzzard, hasn't given so much as a clue as to where her little girl might be, at least not to the police. She hasn't even begged the news cameras to help find little Melody safe and sound. But we do know where Ashley is. She just returned home an hour ago to her little home in Lompoc, California, just up the coast from Santa Barbara. She had been away since Friday, as you may well know, in jail on false imprisonment charges, a charge that was incredibly mysterious at first because it didn't have to do with Melody. And now it just seems incredibly weird. Earlier today, she was in court to face that charge, minus the signature wig, and this is what she looks like. Her own hair is curly and cropped fairly short, almost unrecognizable. But this is how she appeared before the judge today. No wig.
I had to stop. We're going to show this clip with her in court with her short hair. She looks dramatically different, but man, I don't know if this lady remembers what she did with her. I just literally don't know how. She looks way older without the wig. She does. And she doesn't barely. We're going to show the live court clip in a minute. And she looks down. I don't know if she's self-aware. It's clear she's got mental health issues, but I seriously don't know if this woman recalls what she did with this child right now. So yeah, they let her go on unrelated charges. It's discouraging, but we're going to hear a lawyer talk about why they probably needed to. And I already called it in the reading I did yesterday. I was like, they're not going to be able to hold her longer. And by the way, I'm going to do 2 readings for this weekend to be released this weekend. I'm back up with my grandsons and my daughter. My son-in-law is hunting this weekend and next weekend. It's time of year for him. So I will be releasing 2 videos. I'm going to do Amy Bradley on the cruise ship. And then we're going to do Dylan Ethler in Nova Scotia to see those 2 cases. I'm going to do readings on Saturday and Sunday. So stay tuned for those. They'll go members first. One of them will go members first tomorrow. Okay, let's get back into this.
Pleading not guilty to false imprisonment. And then,
no kidding,
quite a surprise, because she was held with no bond. She was sent home with an ankle monitor. Take a look at her left ankle. You can see it there. And the wig is back. A few hours later, this was the picture of Ashley Buzzard again leaving court. Yeah,
and she was taking the signs down.
Also prohibited from having any weapons.
She was ripping the signs down
with her alleged victim. Who?
I mean, does that sound like Sebastian Rogers? She was caught on camera ripping the missing signs of her daughter down. I don't think she intended. I don't think she killed the child. Let's just be clear. Did she traffic her, or did she hide her with someone to protect her? In her mind, yeah. Where she is and whether she's alive because of where she was left, I think she's still alive. But yeah, I think this woman left her with a stranger. That's what I'm getting, who she's asked to take care of her. And maybe she sold her or trafficked her is what I'm also getting. It's interesting. It's a very interesting case.
This case is a man named Tyler Brewer, a local paralegal whom she allegedly imprisoned in her home. Mr. Brewer spoke to our team even before he went public yesterday on social media, and he told our Nancy Liu that he's an acquaintance of Ashley Buzzard's, and he'd been trying to help Ashley find Melody. He says he went to Ashley's home last Thursday and that Ashley became, quote, visibly distressed after sharing information that she'd apparently wished she had not. Mr. Brewer says that Ashley told him her daughter Melody was dropped off in Utah, and says Ashley even identified the person with whom that child was supposedly
Probably
left.
not,
But
Veronica.
he says given Ashley's mental health issues, he's really not sure if she was even telling the truth at that point. In his now deleted Facebook post, Mr. Brewer said in Ashley's rage, she, quote, produced a box cutter. And despite multiple requests to be allowed to exit the home, I was not immediately permitted to leave. He told Nancy Liu that Ashley kept shutting her eyes and making fists and engaged several locks on her door.
That's scary.
Her mental health issues have been no secret, especially to the family. Melody's paternal grandmother told our team today that she actually started trying to get custody of that little girl, custody of Melody, years ago, but clearly was unable to. We do have this video, however. You can
I
see
want
this
you to look at
exclusive
this.
video.
I want you
This is
to
from
look
the year
at this.
2020. And just note how detached little Melody's mother, Ashley, seems to be.
Yes, watch
Right
this.
back then, Melody was just 4 years old, and Grandma was filming and making all sorts of fun jokes, but
Look at the look on her face. Look at the look on her face. It's a simple exercise of a pumpkin, cleaning a pumpkin. And look at the look in her eyes. Mom is overwhelmed. Ashley is overwhelmed with the 4-year-old in that exercise. Watch her eyes in a second.
And making all sorts of fun jokes, but
look at. This is when she was, oh, you can't see it because I got my darn logo. Let me remove it. Nope. Wrong one. Oh, let me see if I can get it.
Mom wasn't doing much. I'm going to stop here and bring in Nancy Liu, who's been working this story nonstop, and she is live in Lompoc, out in front of Ashley Buzzard's home. So, Nancy, just about an hour ago, you've been keeping watch, and there was activity at the home. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, we saw Ashley Buzzard when she returned here. She was dropped off in that minivan with 2 Santa Barbara County workers. She walked inside. She had that long wig on, and it's almost like it's like a cloak for her or something. She's hiding behind all that hair. But she walked in, didn't say a word. Of course, we're yelling, where's Melody? Do you have any comment? She had said absolutely nothing. We saw that ankle monitor on her left leg. So she walked inside, she locked the door. We've seen no activity inside. There is a light on in the living room area, but we've seen no activities inside. So she's definitely in hiding. And the
well, she was 4, and so it would have been around the same time. Yes, because she's said to have been, she's 9, and he's said to have passed when she was, I think she was closer to, it was 2015 or 2016. So no, it would have been years after, because it was closer to the time of her birth, and she was much younger when she lost her father.
Neighbors are all on watch, waiting to see if there's any activity at this home, and we have not seen anything. So we shall see if she ventures out in the days ahead. But for now, she is home, and she seems to be in hiding, Ashley.
I am shocked that she was allowed out, even with that ankle monitor on her left. She's wearing the tight pants, but you can see the left ankle has that monitor, because she was held since Friday on no bond. They wouldn't even let her out on bond. She had to cool her heels in jail over the weekend. So do we know whether this home is supposed to be her house arrest location? Because she didn't go straight from court to her home. There have been many hours where no one knew where she was.
Yeah, she was gone for about 3 hours. We saw her leaving the jail. It took a while to do the paperwork, to get her outfitted with that GPS monitor. We don't know where they went for about 3 hours. We thought they'd be coming straight here to Lompoc, so we don't know if they went to do more procedural stuff while she's out. For this pretrial. Her pretrial hearing is coming up next week. So, yeah, we don't know where she went for 3 hours, but we do know she is now home. And she's going to be back in court, though, in Lompoc. She'll be in the Superior Court here instead of up in Santa Maria.
Well, we're looking at KTLA's video, and now you can really get, for the first time ever, a clear look at her face. We've not been able to see her face before this close up because it's always been grainy surveillance video or, shots taken at a distance from neighbors who've watched her unusual behavior with moving boxes, etc., ripping down the missing person posters that were put on her front lawn.
That's a very interesting point, Kylie. I didn't really connect it with drugs because I'm just thinking mental health, but you're right. There could be some drug use there to explain the loss of weight. Because apparently, according to the neighbor, we're going to play that too, she was heavy when they moved in 2 years earlier.
About missing Melody, her daughter, but now we can definitely see what she looks like with and without that wig. So I am curious about the court argument today, how she's out with an ankle monitor, because her, prosecutor said that she's a flight risk. I mean, we don't know where her daughter is. Did they even bring that up in court today?
Yes, they did bring that up. The prosecutors brought that up. But first off, in court, I think everyone in that courtroom, Ashley, we were all so taken aback by how she looked because we didn't know if she'd be coming out with her wig on or not. But we have to go to that video of her in court with her natural hair. It's short. It's very curly. For the most part, she's walking out there. But for the most part, throughout the proceeding, she had her hands clasped in front of her. She looked down much of the time. She only mumbled good morning to the judge after a lot of prompting. The not guilty plea was entered on her behalf. She's assigned a public defender. You see him next to her. He stressed that Ashley, she has no criminal history and that the complaint, this false imprisonment complaint, that it's a non-violent complaint. But the prosecutor countered, saying the alleged crime involved a box cutter, also noting that Ashley Buzzard has, very questionable recent behavior. There's the road trip linked to the disappearance of Melody. Melody is still missing, but the judge did allow that supervised release with the GPS monitoring. And again, we saw when she was released from the jail, she had that long hair wig back on, and she really seems to be hiding behind her hair. And even as we're,
I'll tell you what,
yelling, where's
Nancy,
Melody?
that wig is not just a fashion statement. She was switching wigs on that trip. When she went back and forth on a 3-day road trip, returning without that child, she was switching wigs. So it's not a fashion statement. We're not being catty. The wig matters in this story. It's evidence and it's an issue. Not only that, she was switching license plates, which means she's trying to evade detection. I cannot believe the judge didn't feel that she was a flight risk. And I really hope that they don't regret this decision to let her out, with an ankle monitor.
And that's the consensus around here, Ashley, but she's going to be under a microscope in this neighborhood. Everyone is aware that she is back home. They're going to be watching this house like hawks. And, she has that ankle monitor on, and they will know her whereabouts. And, it will be, pretty daring should she try anything. But, there are plenty of relatives also with a vested interest in this, and they're also keeping tabs on her, Ashley.
So talk to me about the relatives. Were there relatives who showed up for her court appearance today?
Yeah, quite a few relatives on the paternal side of the family. Melody's paternal grandmother was there, Lily Dennis. I got a chance to chat with her at court. And, she talked a bit about the history of knowing Ashley, always knowing that she's been, a strange and different person who seemed unbalanced. But she was very angry, like you, that the judge allowed Ashley to leave and be under supervised release. And she said she didn't even recognize Ashley Buzzard in court. But take a listen to what Grandma had to say.
They let her go, and they didn't even write anything about the baby missing on that was the prosecutor? Yeah, so I'm really mad. Honest to God, I don't understand the law. She's been like this all her life. She has a record being in the Looney Hospital in Camarillo twice. What else what are they doing? I knew that she was an old lady. I knew ever since the first time I met her. I knew something was wrong with her.
It's not like Grandma you know, grandmom's doesn't seem very empathetic to her. I feel kind of bad for her. I understand. I don't like the grandmom's vibe. She seems, is she worried about her daughter, Melody? I don't know. I'm not justifying Ashley's behavior, but I kind of don't like grandmom's vibe either.
Okay, so grandma's not only angry, she's worried. I mean, her primary focus is Melody. She wants to find Melody. Like much of the country, where is Melody? She has to be out there somewhere. And, you know, they're trying to keep hope and positivity alive.
Boy,
Look at the look on her face. When I look at this face, look at the look on her face in court here. She just, okay, thank you, honey. Thanks, Kylie. I just don't understand. She just is staring into oblivion. She doesn't look all there.
Focus is finding the little
looks
girl. At this point,
not all there.
let's all hope that she's okay and that this woman, you know, disappears from all of our lives. But I'll tell you what, if she does appear, there's going to be some issue with who's going to care for this little girl, because this woman has displayed some of the most bizarre, intransigent behavior. But excellent work, Nancy.
And Ashley,
great. Thank you so much for this.
Custody battle has been underway. A custody battle has been underway with the paternal relatives, and that may factor in all of this and why, you know, Ashley has been trying to shield Melody and take her away to prevent the paternal relatives from taking Melody away.
So, you know, she doesn't strike me as a mom. Like she didn't just kill her kid, you know, like unless she had a psychotic breakdown. She strikes me as, while she kept her secret and in hiding, we're going to hear, she just looks consumed by her own mental ill health, right? Like, I think that's what's driving this, is her own belief that, yes, the parents, paternal grandparents, are trying to take custody of her, and that would be scary for anybody. And then if you've got mental health issues on top of that, and you know they're going to be used against you. But having mental health issues doesn't have to equate to being a horrible mother either. Like, doesn't have to not necessarily translate that way, although she has been keeping Melody's secret in the house. So it's a very interesting and bizarre case. Let's watch this video. Oh, yeah, we're going to start it because it's just a little clip. Hopefully I haven't repeated. I think
Police told us on Friday and still say tonight that the arrest was, quote, not directly related to Melody's disappearance. But we're now learning what exactly the arrest was related to. The criminal complaint accuses Ashley Buzzard of, quote, violating the personal liberty of a man named Tyler S. Brewer. And that is a name that has not surfaced in this case before. The complaint says that the crime happened last Thursday, November 6th, in Lompoc, where Ashley and Melody live. And you'll remember Ashley was arrested the very next day. And while that leaves us with more questions than answers, we sure did learn a whole lot more today about Ashley's background. And let me tell you, this was not what I expected.
This is wild.
Long before Ashley Buzzard was jailed for this crime that we're talking about tonight, and long before she was the tight-lipped mother of this missing little 9-year-old girl walking in behind her in surveillance video, this mother also was a 9-year-old girl on the margins. She was surrounded by danger, with an unstable home life herself.
This is wild. This case is wild. Yeah, I think it's baloney too, but I'm going to let you see a clip in a minute, a lawyer explaining why. And yeah, it doesn't seem right from an onlooker's perspective, but the law in California is very limited. And from what I understand, the law in California is very much like the Canadian law, where it favors the accused's rights a little heavily. It was reported by the school that they hadn't seen her in like a year. Well, this is also my point. How does it take a school a year? Why is it taking you a year to report? Like, she was placed on, from what I understand, homeschooling, but that should be more cause for a mother with mental health issues, why you would need to be on top of that. Like, there should be a monthly requirement to check in to make sure the child is still being homeschooled and not vanished. Just my opinion. But listen to this story. We find out that Ashley Buzzard herself was in the same exact situation. Yeah, her weekly, Donna says, when she was 9 and had to flee their abusive father. And so it's like she's in this psychotic whirlwind of her own trauma and tragedy at the same age when she removed Melody, and God knows what she did with her and where she took her. It's very creepy, concerning. Listen.
And what I'm about to tell you is a bit surprising, okay? Sometimes she had no home at all. But despite those unhappy parallels with her own daughter, Melody, there is one monumental difference. Ashley's mother, from all indications, did everything that she could to protect her little girl. She kept young Ashley safe. She kept her loved. She kept young Ashley fed and clothed and educated. Exhibit A would be a newspaper story that our team uncovered today from 1995. February 11th, to be exact, the Santa Maria Times. And the headline reads, "School of Hard Knocks. Educators extend a hand to the homeless." And there, big as day, is a picture of curly-haired 9-year-old Ashley Buzzard sitting beside her tutor. This story is all about young Ashley's escape with her mother, Lori, from an abusive father. And before I go on, you should know that we've spoken with Ashley's mother and we've identified that she is the Lori Miranda in the story, and she's verified the details. And let me quote the article. "With no job, home, or car, and $40 in her pocket, Lori Miranda and her young daughter," that would be Ashley, "faced the streets of Santa Maria. Originally living in Orange County, Lori Miranda, 33, said she and Ashley, 9 years old, moved from place to place, often sleeping in hotels, to be free of Lori Miranda's husband. This is a quote. "He would smash our windows and harass us." That's what Lori said. To escape, Lori Miranda and Ashley boarded a bus in June, and after staying with a relative for a month, they came to Santa Ana. The two eventually found their way to the Good Samaritan shelter, where they remained for 30 days. Lori enrolled Ashley into school. For 2 hours after school, Ashley began and continues to participate in the Homeless Education/Liaison Project. Remember that Ashley was just 9 years old back then, the same age that her missing daughter, Melody, is today. And that brings me to the photos and the videos that Ashley's mother gave us exclusively of Ashley and her daughter, Melody, together in 2020 when Melody was only about 4 years old. In the clip you're about to hear, you can actually hear Grandma Lori behind the camera being playful with little Melody, while the mom, Ashley, appears to be more detached. Have a look.
No? What are you? Looking super duper?
Yeah.
Silly. Ew, gross. Let's see it.
Oh! That's just a gut, silly.
It's just a guts.
So look at it. Look at it.
Look at that. Oh my god.
Whoa. Hey, watch this, guys.
Here, let me see a picture of you. Look at mommy. It's in there. The cheese.
Hey.
You should take all those to the park for the cheese. The cheese. Mommy.
Again, that picture you're looking at is little Melody, and to the right, her mom, Ashley. And I know what you're thinking. That doesn't look like the Ashley that we've seen. And I hear you. Boy, do I ever. So let's compare and contrast and pull up the surveillance video from Ashley and Melody's recent visit to a car rental office on October 7th. That's unbelievable, the difference in appearance. Ashley in the black t-shirt, Ashley in the wig. Hard to believe it's the same person. And on the right, you'll remember this was day one of a 3-day road trip to and from Nebraska. But police say the last known sighting of the little Melody in the hoodie back there, and right there at the desk with her mom, was October 9th near the Colorado-Utah border, because Ashley returned to her home in Lompoc, California the next day without Melody. Lompoc is also where we find my News Nation colleague Nancy Liu, who joins me live now outside of Ashley and Melody's home in Lompoc. Okay, Nancy, so much to get to tonight. You got your hands on this criminal complaint just within the last hour or so. So what to you stood out that I haven't already said?
Oh, a lot stood out to us, Ashley, and we want to show everyone that criminal complaint. We just got it a short time ago from Superior Court, Santa Barbara County. It's really just less than half a page long, but we want to highlight some parts of it because it is quite revealing about what allegedly happened at this house on or around November 6th, it says, of 2025. In the county of Santa Barbara, the crime of false imprisonment by violence, a felony, was committed by Ashley Buzzard, who did unlawfully violate the personal liberty of Tyler S. Brewer. Said violation being affected by violence, menace, fraud, and deceit. And you see that headline, special allegation, aggravating factors. It goes on to read, the manner in which the crime was carried out indicates planning, sophistication, and professionalism. We have learned that Ashley will be in court on Wednesday afternoon to face this felony charge. In the meantime, she remains jailed up in the Santa Maria area. And Ashley, as you know, we have tracked down Tyler S. Brewer, and we have spoken with him. And bear with me as I'm going to refer to my notes because I want to relay what he told us accurately. Tyler Brewer tells us that he has known Ashley through a friend since 2014. He's been coming over here to check on her since all of this was publicized. He claims he was told where Melody was dropped off and who she was left with, but he is not sharing that information with us. Tyler's also concerned that because of Ashley's mental history and recent behavior, he's not sure that what she told him is actually true. Now, on November 6th, the day of the incident, he says Ashley started acting irrationally while he was here, accused him of working with police and the paternal side of the family to take Melody away from her. He says she kept shutting her eyes and making fists, and she blocked the door, preventing him from leaving. She slammed the front door shut and engaged 4 locks on that door. She did eventually let him leave, and he went right to authorities to report what happened. Now, he claims she has just mental issues. She's extremely paranoid. She's a totally different person from when they first met. And he says he's very concerned about Melody's well-being. And he suspects Melody may be somewhere in Utah. So based on everything that he told News Nation, there is hope that Melody is out there and alive. So what Tyler Brewer is telling News Nation, providing a lot of hope tonight, Ashley.
Well, let's go over a little bit of that. That's just incredible information that he has unloaded. So Nancy, if I'm to understand this, he says that Ashley shared the information of where she, quote unquote, dropped off.
I mean, if that's the case, if she's being honest, then we should expect an announcement any day now as to Melody's whereabouts, right? I don't know. That was last week. We haven't heard anything. So I'm concerned that she wasn't honest with him.
Melody. He thinks it's in the Utah area. He will not share exactly with us what she apparently shared with him. But did he say he shared everything with the police, everything that Ashley told him?
Yeah, based on what we're hearing, we haven't heard everything. And again, because of her mental state and how she's been acting lately, he's not sure that what she's been saying is the truth. So it's hard to know what to believe, but he is telling us what she told him. And if it is truthful, then Melody is out there.
Well, I mean, he went to the police, but he's not talking to media. And I mean, I think she's very ill. Yeah. And I think she in her own mind, I think thinks everybody's a threat to her daughter. I think she in her own mind thinks everybody's a threat because of her own trauma. That's just my sense. She's very ill. That doesn't mean she harmed her daughter, but what she did in maybe a psychotic panic moment, but it's also very well planned out, and it's just curious.
And did we get any further understanding of what drop off means? I mean, you don't just drop a child, on a desert road. Was there some? Maybe do we know if there was some drop off location, some person, someone to care for her? Anything more that indicates what kind of a drop off this was?
We've been fishing for information. We want more information, and he's not quite ready to tell more information. His name just got released publicly within the last couple of hours, so he's just coming to terms with that. He's not sure, he wants to do interviews or speak out publicly in any way. But fortunately, he did speak with us, relayed that information, and we relayed as much as we could to all of you.
Okay, well, let's move on to the other action that happened in the house behind you. Action not only this weekend, but today. Walk me through what the neighbors all said happened there.
Well, first off, Ashley's getting packages delivered still at the front door. There are 3 packages. One is from Amazon. One is from Kohl's. One came from Burlington, New Jersey. It looks to be some kind of clothing item. So we don't know if she's just been shopping recently or what. But in talking to the neighbors, we know that 4 investigators were here at Ashley's house. They brought a van on Saturday afternoon. It was around 2 o'clock, the neighbor says. The officers, apparently investigators, they're dressed in plain clothes. They went inside. They were there for about an hour. But according to the neighbor, they did not leave with anything. In talking with other neighbors, though, they're expressing that they're glad that Ashley is in custody and hopefully providing some answers and talking now to police. But a lot of neighbors that we talked to around here today, they don't recall seeing Melody at all, playing outside, walking down the sidewalk, anything, or even playing in the backyard. Neighbors have not seen Melody at anywhere around this house. So they are curious as to what's happened to her. They are keeping hope alive that, Melody is alive and out there and will be found. So Ashley remains behind bars.
Nancy. Thank goodness for that. Hopefully they can squeeze her for information while she's behind bars. I do want to ask you a little bit about these images and the dichotomy of 5 years ago, the video that her mother, Lori Miranda, shared with us of Ashley with her little daughter, Melody. It does not look at all like the Ashley we're seeing in these videos, the arrest video, the surveillance video. Did Lori Miranda say anything to you about her relationship with her daughter, Ashley, and of course her granddaughter, Melody? Like, what sort of information has she shed on you when you were able to speak with her?
Yeah. Lori has not spoken with Ashley since 2023. The video that we saw earlier with Melody carving the pumpkin, that was in 2020 when Melody was about 4 years old. And yes, Ashley looks far different. She's obviously lost a considerable amount of weight in recent years. She moved into this house about 2 years ago, and neighbors say that Ashley was larger when she first moved in. So that drastic weight loss appears to have happened like within the last year or so. But when the surveillance pictures came out of Ashley and Melody at the car rental business, Lori, the mother, says that she did not recognize that as her daughter, because that's not how she remembers what we're seeing there. The Ashley with the pumpkin, that's what she remembers Ashley looking like.
I mean,
crazy.
It's like 2 different people. I'm looking on the screen right now. It just looks like 2 completely different people. Great information. Just fantastic reporting on this. Nancy Lou, thank you.
So yeah, let's watch the next one. This whole case is just wild. Here's the, this is a very, very interesting interview. I know, Tyler, I know. But let's listen. We got a few more very interesting messages or videos to watch. I think the general consensus, Tyler, we're going to stay focused. We're going to get to Jack and Lily after these next few videos. But I think the general consensus in this group is similar to this, that maybe the police, the RCMP, got it wrong and Jack and Lily didn't just walk out the back door. That's the general consensus here in this group. If I was to, I don't like to speak on behalf of people, but I would estimate that to be pretty accurate. I think some people may feel differently, that they did a great job, but I think all in all, I think a lot of people here in this community think that the RCMP is not that they didn't do a good job, they just might have missed the boat with the theory that the kids walked away at the beginning.
Matter of Ashley Lynn Buzzard.
We're entering a not guilty plea with no time waiver. We're requesting an assignment as quickly as possible. She has a local residence. She is not a flight risk.
And with that, a judge set Ashley Buzzard free on bond at her arraignment today. But wait, not a flight risk? What? Ashley Buzzard took a 3,000-mile, 3-day trip with her beautiful little daughter, Melody, and Melody never came home. They traveled through 5 states, and now the FBI is trying to figure out their every stop and where she left Melody. That's a very large area to search. And consider this. It's only 249 miles to get out
Yeah,
of the country.
Louise, very
That's 4 hours.
heartbreaking.
For a woman who likes ride shares, for less than $1,000, she could be over the border. I'm Ann Emerson, an investigative reporter with more than 30 years of experience, and I've been tracking this case very closely. Please like and subscribe so you get the latest news about what's going on. Melody's been missing for more than a month now, and police are desperate to find her. We'll talk about the false imprisonment charge against her mother, Ashley, in a minute, but first, listen to what the prosecutor told Judge McGregor at today's hearing.
Ms. Buzzard has been notably uncooperative with law enforcement and child welfare services. It has been found in the investigation pertaining to the disappearance of her daughter, Melody, that she switched license plates on her rented vehicle to and from Nebraska. She wore wigs. It's apparent that she has taken lengths to conceal her identity and whereabouts on other occasions. And if she were to be released, that is a concern, on top of the fact that she is non-cooperative with law enforcement.
But the judge let her out anyway. He did order Ashley to wear a GPS ankle monitoring bracelet. No contact with Tyler Brewer. That's the man who filed the criminal complaint against Ashley last week. They arrested Ashley after Tyler told police that Ashley had held him hostage with a box cutter. Tyler said the incident at Ashley's house escalated when she told him information that she regretted sharing. Information about her daughter? ? Nobody knows because Tyler's not talking. But investigators did say that the false imprisonment charge was not related to Melody's disappearance. And here's another question. For a woman who doesn't have a job, how is she posting bail? Ashley's probably only had to put up about 10% of her $100,000 bail. According to the private investigator who's been speaking to us from the road, that's not necessarily an issue. She's also receiving Melody's Social Security from when her father died when she was a baby. So here's why we believe Ashley may well be planning to leave. We have video of her moving boxes, as well as photos of packed moving boxes inside her garage.
Looks like she may have been preparing to leave. When I first pulled up there, the garage door was open, I understand, for a long period of time, including overnight. So I was able to take a number of photographs of the interior of the garage with the garage door open from a public distance. And it looked like a number of clothing and appliances, some small appliances and different items packed up and then unpacked by the initial search warrant. So it does look like she was getting ready to pack that up. But again, we don't know what her mental state was or is. And so it's hard to deduce what that was all about.
So Jackie Goodman is a criminal defense attorney. Jackie, is this suspicious behavior enough to be concerned about a flight risk?
So the judge, when he is or she is hearing a question of bail, is concerned with 2 things: flight risk and danger to the community. And here's something interesting. People think that we're talking all the time about this presumption of innocence. That does not really apply at all until the jury goes into the jury room to deliberate after a trial. So for purposes of bail, the judge has to assume that the facts in the police report are true for the purposes of bail. But let's consider for a moment, what facts are we talking about? She's now charged with a false imprisonment, not with anything to do with the disappearance of her daughter. So yes, the judge takes into account all of the facts that the judge is aware of. And so she is not necessarily a suspect. We don't know what has happened to Melody. So, I mean, even if the police think she's a suspect, according to the evidence the judge has before him or her, there's really no information about Ashley being responsible or in any way other than what we're talking about with speculation connected to the other crime. And that crime is not before this judge right now. Furthermore, the danger to the community portion of it, that is certainly something that a court is supposed to take into account and will take into account when determining what is the least restrictive means necessary in order to get this person who's at this point presumed guilty of the crime charge, that's false imprisonment of an adult momentarily, by the way. And the judge takes into account the facts underlying that crime and then takes the least restrictive measures to ensure that that person has their day in court, comes back to court, and doesn't commit any crime in the interim. And so the judge probably quite reasonably determined that a GPS device would be enough to allay any fears in that regard. Now, listen, it makes perfect sense that the public and others looking into this case are very, very concerned. And different judges might have gone differently when they look at the evidence of other concerns. But apparently that evidence is not known to me, and whatever was before that court was enough to satisfy the court that this is the least restrictive means to ensure that she appears at future hearings.
Okay, so 2 questions. GPS monitoring for this on the ankle bracelet, is that going to be enough to get her to stay put?
Well, we're speculating about that too. Also, listen, all of the information that we have is that Ashley Buzzard has a mental health condition, that she's got at least some behaviors that cause concern. And so whether this mechanism is enough to keep her coming back to court or to keep her in place while her case is pending is still to be known. But, she's not necessarily operating the way most people would operate. And so I'm sure they're going to keep a close look on where she is.
No kidding. So she's explaining to us because the judge is limited, because he's hearing a different case, he could have taken a little bit of into consideration, but there's limitations. And again, this goes back to what happens here in Canada, when I believe is very much the culture, the criminal element culture in California is we give a lot of rights to suspects, right? Presumed innocent until guilty, of course, but there's an extraordinary amount of weight given to that versus the 9-year-old missing child in this case, right? Like, it's wild. I agree. It's wild.
From what I understand, she's got to be back in court next week for pretrial
Yeah,
hearing.
exactly. They took her in on the
Is
other
that
thing.
November 19th to
They
20th?
took her in on the box cutting episode with this Tyler, who is reported to have known her since before the Melody situation, before the death of the father, and is very concerned. Her behavior has changed dramatically since he first met her. And he went to check in on her with all of the news of Melody missing and was locked into the house with 4 locks and prevented from leaving, and felt threatened to a certain extent by Ashley's odd, erratic behavior. And she had a box cutter. So they held her with that. And I said on the reading that I did that they wouldn't be able to hold her for long. And literally she was released within an hour or so of that reading going out live. And that's just the sense that I felt, because the box cutter episode can be intimidation, but let's be real. It's his word against hers. What charges can they really place on her for that? That was, in my opinion, a stretch and an excuse to hold her and try to get more out of her with Melody. But if she's got a smart lawyer, which apparently she does, and they knew this was the ruse, she's still just not going to offer information and isn't talking about Melody's disappearance. And I think the judge was somewhat limited here, as this attorney is explaining. As appalling and egregious as it sounds, that's the case. And maybe with the ankle monitor, she won't be able to leave, they're hoping, the home or flee the home. But I kind of hope she does, and I hope they follow her there, because that might bring us to where Melody is.
They're talking about having her come back.
That's correct. So the beginning of a case in California begins with an arraignment.
Not that I'm aware of, Donna, no.
And it's bookended with the preliminary examination. In other jurisdictions, we call that a probable cause hearing. It could also be a grand jury hearing. It's a look at what the prosecution is doing for a court, some other branch of government from the executive branch, to look over what the prosecutor is doing. Only in felony cases, they don't get this. Defendants don't get this kind of.
I know, Tyler. I know
what the prosecutor is doing in misdemeanor cases, but in more serious felony cases, a defendant is entitled to this second look. The judge is not going to be pushing a jury out of the way and deciding guilt or innocence. Judge is not going to be usurping the role of the prosecutor. Simply put, the judge is looking to determine whether some evidence is before that court, which, if believed, makes up each element of the crime. So, in essence, a judge is looking at what is the correct crime under these circumstances. It's a very small amount of evidence. You've heard that grand juries will indict a ham sandwich. It's the same standard. So some evidence, which, if believed, makes up each element of the crime. It's a check on, is this the correct crime? And is this defendant at least reasonably suspected of this behavior? So those two things are bookending everything that happens in between. And those things that happen in between, we refer to those court hearings as pretrials. And there can be 1 or 100 of those pretrials. And at those pretrials, there's discovery, where we include information from both sides, where we talk about that. There's negotiations between the parties, where we try to come to some understanding and agreement so that the litigation doesn't need to go forward. And then there's motions to keep out certain pieces of evidence or put in certain pieces of evidence. So those are kind of the big bucket things that happen at pretrials in between. And that's her first opportunity now to obtain the discovery, get a chance for her lawyers to look at it, and come back and have a conversation with the prosecutor on that day.
Yeah, and she's pleading not guilty. So
she has pled not guilty, yes.
Right. And so now, I guess this is the other part of it that we're kind of all trying to understand. Is there logic behind this? Well, first, why didn't they try and hold her on a mental health hold for more of an evaluation?
Understood. The standard for a mental health evaluation, or in California, it's Penal Code Section 1368, the standard to be incompetent in order to justify that kind of a hold is a very, very high standard. A person really would have to be shown to not have the capacity to understand the proceedings. You can't just decide that person seems odd, I want them to be held as a violation, of their freedom of movement. And so when we take away someone's freedoms in that way, and we subject them to what is going to be disclosure of very sensitive information, psychiatric evaluations, that is something that doesn't occur without at least a lawyer the defense lawyer, making a statement to the court that they have a doubt as to the person's mental capacity or ability to understand the proceedings. So again, you can be insane and still understand that you're on trial. And so it's a really, really high standard before someone can come in and force us against our will to be held against our will and subjected to these psychiatric evaluations, and then for that to be disclosed to the court and other public entities.
I think a lot of people were hoping that while she was being held, there would be an opportunity to get more information about where her daughter is. Is that legally possible? Are they allowed to ask her those kind of questions if she was in jail?
Not really. Police have lots of tools at their disposal, and sometimes they do utilize these efforts to try to talk to somebody who is in custody about a different matter. And they are, in that case, taking the case in front of them, in our case, the false imprisonment, and they're saying, I'm not going to talk to you about this false imprisonment thing, but do you want to talk to me about where your daughter is? The problem with that is that if she's a suspect in the disappearance of her daughter and they suspect malfeasance in that, they're really taking chances with Miranda and the Fifth Amendment and the voluntariness of her statement in a later prosecution. Listen, law enforcement is going to take their chances in different ways. What is the goal? If the goal is to find the child and secondarily it's to prosecute the perpetrator of whatever wrongdoing occurred, then they may decide to take those opportunities and try and talk with her. But she seems to be, at least from the reports that we're seeing, aware of her situation, aware of the jeopardy that she's in with respect to her daughter. She understands, she can read the news, she's having conversations with folks. So while she may be acting unusually, she doesn't appear to be behaving in such a way that she doesn't understand what's happening. And it's not likely, in my opinion, that she would be talking to police voluntarily about anything to do with her daughter. She's so far been uncooperative, which I think is probably one of the most damning aspects of this case.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jack.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Tyler, this next video is from the same news outlet. It's a YouTube channel called Criminally Obsessed, but the woman that you just saw has been a journalist, I think she said for 30 or 40 years. So yes, so listen to this. This is an interview she does with a neighbor, So let's listen to this.
In the backyard, and she was sitting next to a shed crying. Feel bad, but then you're like, well, just come forward with the child,
Boxed up and ready to move on? A look inside Ashley Buzzard's garage may actually give us clues into what's going on in her mind. The mother of missing 9-year-old Melody Buzzard is behind bars, but not because of anything to do with her daughter's disappearance.
Every time Ashley left the house with Melody, she had to wear a hood on her head. She always had a hood on. It didn't matter if it was 90 degrees outside,
So what really happened inside that house in Lompoc, California? In part 2 of our Criminally Obsessed exclusive, we take you inside the chaos. The neighbor who caught Ashley's every move, and the man who says she wouldn't let him leave her home. Ashley is now facing felony false imprisonment charges. She's set to be arraigned tomorrow. A man named Tyler Brewer posted about it after his name was linked in the criminal report by media outlets. Brewer alleges that last Thursday, on November 6th, he was at Ashley's. She appeared to get upset after telling him something. In the post, he states, a box cutter was produced, and despite multiple requests to be allowed to exit the home, I was not immediately permitted to leave. The door was secured by several locks, which delayed my ability to exit. The neighbors say they've been watching Ashley's every move since Child Welfare Services knocked on her door on October 14th. Make sure that you're subscribed to Criminally Obsessed. This story is far from over. So how did you get involved in sort of what was happening right now with this disappearance?
I had posted a video on my TikTok page regarding some action that was happening next door.
Right.
And that was before the sheriff's department ever released anything about a case. I had made a video saying like, oh, my mom's neighbor has some stuff going on and this is what's going on, blah, blah, and then next thing you know, like 4 or 5 hours later, the news is up and running about it.
Wow. So tell me what happened. Like, how did you start realizing there was something going on with Melody?
Well, we knew something was related to her daughter because CPS was there that morning. And that's when I posted on my page saying like,
So we're going to watch this video and one other from the investigator looking for Ashley now, the private investigator, and then we're going to get into Jack and Lily. And boy, I got some interesting videos for you on Jack and Lily too. So stay tuned.
Oh, something's going on. CPS is there. The sheriffs are there. And then I had even taken a picture and uploaded it to my page showing that, like, we had asked the sheriff, because it was weird after CPS came and the sheriffs came and they entered her home. There was a sheriff's car parked in the driveway. So we had went over and asked and said, hey, we're being a nosy neighbor. What's going on? And they had said, well, we're waiting for investigators. It's a crime scene. Wow. So, and he was parked in the driveway. And then that night, I think like at 5 p.m. or so, it was like 3 or 4 hours after he was waiting there in the driveway, investigators showed up to go inside with the search warrant. That was the first.
It was a crime scene? The CPS told you that?
No, the sheriff that was parked there waiting.
Wow. So and this was probably what, like 2 weeks ago now?
That was on, so I believe I posted on a Tuesday. So I believe that was on the next day on Wednesday.
So like, are we like in October 14th is when they get notified that she is not, they do this welfare check. How many days after that do you think it was?
That was the next day. So they came
okay.
they came one day, the first day they knocked, nobody was there. They came back the second day with sheriffs and CPS and then entered her home that night. And then that's what they're doing.
What's it been like in your neighborhood during this period?
There's been a lot of, we call them looky-loos, but the people driving by and circling the block. And then of course, when the family comes, they do their, vigil and stuff. But it's kind of been crazy, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine. And there were even like people were putting posters out saying, "Where is Melody?" Because of course, Ashley's not talking about it.
Yes.
What did you think about all of that?
It was good, to have them get out there and do that for the community. I mean, anyone would want it if your child was missing. You would hope, that people would help try to locate them.
Well, exactly. So, but now we do think that there could be possible, we've heard, there's a lot of speculation whether or not there's some mental health issues going on with Ashley. What do you think's going on with Ashley?
From what we've seen, and just from what we know of what she's done on her little road trip and stuff, I'm pretty sure Ashley's all there at the moment. She might have had mental health history, but she is very smart. And
that's very interesting, right? That's a very interesting perspective. And that's kind of how I feel. Like there's definitely some mental unwellness here, but she planned a very elaborate plan. So it's like, I don't know if she's going in and out of psychosis or what, but you're going to hear from the private eye in a minute too about the drive there and what he thinks is an impossible task. So it's the most curious case. Is there somebody else in the background helping her that we haven't tapped into yet?
What she did on her little road trip.
And what do you think's going on right now? I know that they've arrested her on this false imprisonment charge. Were you surprised?
On that one, yes, only because we thought maybe they had found something in regards to Melody and they didn't. But I don't know if that charge is going to stick that much.
I mean, as far as how the community is feeling, since you're sort of in it, what is the prevailing sense right now? Is there a lot of hope, or are people really, really worried?
Well, of course, people are worried on where she is. Is she okay? Is she safe?
Mm-hmm.
I had mentioned on one of mine, I think that the FBI is going to narrow it down from when she was last in the vehicle. So I had said that in the beginning. I said, because everyone was like, oh, they're not doing enough. The FBI is not doing, or the police aren't doing enough. And I said, well, it takes time. Anyone who's seen, they have to go to every business that she stopped at or that they think the car stopped at. They have to ask them for footage. They have to get a search warrant. And then who knows if their footage even goes back that far.
Have you ever had any interaction with Ashley?
No. And my mom only did once. And it was like a little spiff. She got really upset that my mom's husband was bumping her trash cans with his truck. And she had called the sheriff on them. And then the sheriff had came and tried to mediate, but she was really upset over the bumping of the trash can. But that was the only time that they had ever really had any interaction with her.
How long had she been living next to your mom? Do you know?
It's been about 2.5 years, give or take. Yeah.
And how much has she seen Melody over those years as a neighbor?
She never saw her like play outside, or run around in the front yard, but she would see her come and go with Ashley. Every time Ashley left the house, Melody would be right there next to her, leaving the house with her.
Do you remember? Does she remember if you asked her if she had on these wigs? Like, did she ever put wigs on the child or anything during that period?
She didn't pay attention to that. She doesn't know like the hair, but every time Ashley left the house with Melody, she had to wear a hood on her head.
Really? That's what I was going to tell you was that I actually, and I don't know.
So in the 2.5 years they've been neighbors, they've never seen Melody playing outside in the backyard. And she's always wearing a hoodie when she's coming and going with her mom from the home to obscure her, what she looks like from the public. So there has been a protection of her daughter for at least 2 years and keeping her away from the public. So there has to be ongoing unwellness here. That is usually a hallmark for not so good in the home
You
environment.
already knew about this article that was written 30 years ago, but it turns out that Ashley, when she was 9 years old, according to her mom, she and Ashley had to escape her dad at 9 years old. Did you know about this?
No.
Okay. So I found this article and I'll send it to you. It's out of the Santa Maria Times, and it's Lori Miranda with her daughter, Ashley, when she was 9.
Oh,
and
wow.
they had run away from an abusive alcoholic father, according to.
I think 2 years, Donna, but I'm not entirely sure, which could coincide with her keeping her inside for 2 years. But I don't know that has been reported on yet on the exact amount of time since the grandparents have been trying to get custody of her.
Lori, and they had to hide away. And they were in the paper because they had been unhoused, and they had become part of a program to help unhoused people in the community. And this is what I think is disturbing to me, is that this child Melody is 9 years old as well.
Yeah.
So the parallel is overwhelming. And I'll send you the article. But what do you think about that as far as maybe mental health really rearing its ugly head?
Yeah, she knew something was up because my mom said every time Ashley and Melody would leave, Melody would be like scooting right next to the side of her mom, they never had a car. So they would get in the Uber, or rideshare, or whoever was picking them up. And she always had a hood on. It didn't matter if it was 90 degrees outside, then she would come back and she'd have the hood on and go straight into the house.
It's unbelievable. So she's been hiding her for 2.5 years since your mom.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on next? What do you think the next steps are in this? Because you've been following this so carefully and trying to document what's going on.
I think the only thing, hopefully they can narrow down when the last time she was in the car. Because the only thing that we couldn't ever really fathom is if Ashley did have a really good friend that would be willing to hold Melody, that person must be really willing to take a risk for her. Because eventually, I would think eventually if that person gets caught with her, they're going to be charged too, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, at least a lot of questions, right? A lot of questions.
Yeah. And not only like hindering an investigation and knowing that you're interfering with.
So that begs the question now. If she was taking her to transport her safely to be held with a family member, why is that person not come forward and talked to police to end this whole narrative? That begs the question, right? Where is that person if she was taken to safety in the family, and why are they not coming forward? That is, it to me makes that theory less likely.
So hopefully that's the case, or, they find out when the last time she was in the vehicle with her,
Well, Casey, how is, when you've been there around your mom, I know, how are they feeling about Ashley right now?
The day that the investigators came and took her away from the house, when they just detained her for that search warrant, the big search warrant that time, my mom had said she actually kind of felt bad for her, because when we could see her in the backyard and she was sitting next to a shed crying. And so, my mom said, she goes, I almost feel bad for her, even though you feel bad, but then you're like, well, just come forward with the child,
Right. Well, and then when you saw her get arrested, can you describe what happened that day?
They just came. There was probably about 10 to 15 cars. They parked down the street. They kind of all got out at once, filed up the street, and then they banged on her door for about 2 or 3 minutes and told her if she didn't open the door, they were going to break it down. She did open the door, and they just told her, you're under arrest. And then they carried her out to the street.
And she didn't even have shoes on.
No.
What was her demeanor like?
She actually kind of looked a little scared. Her facial expression did look like she was kind of scared or nervous, I could say, but I don't know if they told her at the time what she was under arrest for, or if they kept that secret and maybe she, you know what I mean? But her face, she did look like she was kind of scared when they were walking her down.
And she still had on her wig, or a wig.
Yeah.
And I want to share with you, like, we've got a reporter and people that we've been talking to up in Utah, in the Junction, Utah area, right after the Colorado Utah border, that we've been reporting on, that there was a sighting of Ashley, but then there was another person in the car who the eyewitness said looked more like 20s or 30s.
As soon as he showed me the picture of the lady in her wig, I was like, oh, hey, I do remember that. It was really, really freaking weird because she just like opened the door at the store and like halfway poked her head in.
Do you have any sort of estimate on how old the woman with the purple hair was? Like whether that was someone younger or older?
She had to be probably late 20s to mid 30s would be my guess.
Okay. And did you
see
see
another adult woman?
Okay. And did you see any signs of a child or no?
No. There's nobody else in the car that I could see.
So there's a lot of questions about what happened in Utah, I think.
Yeah, if it's her, or if she put it on Melody, because since they were both switching constantly, you know. In one of the pictures of Melody, the one from the rental car place, you know, if you had a still shot of a phone with her standing there, you might not be able to tell she's as young as she is. You know what I mean?
Right. So it could actually be her, is what you're saying. We just don't know yet.
Because Ashley isn't one to frequent with people. So she's not known to frequent with people or trust them like that. So it's kind of odd that she'd be traveling with somebody.
What do you think about the boxes? You had pointed out on a video that you saw her with what looked like boxes that had been delivered.
Yeah, she did get 2 days of delivery boxes from a Walmart driver, like where you do the online delivery. So the first day she got about, I'd say 6 or 7. And the next day it was about 10 to 12 boxes. But I'm guessing that she has to move, but we're not 100% sure yet.
Well, how do you think this is going to play out?
My guess is, well, I'm thinking from what we know is that they're going to come narrow it down shortly, probably with where Melody was last in the car. Was she in the car when she hit LA or the Rancho Cucamonga area, or was she not? And then they'll probably end up getting some type of surveillance footage, hopefully from there, or maybe from her phone devices, you know, a warrant for those if they were able to get that while she's in custody.
Do you feel sorry for her?
I do feel for her because I don't know if maybe she was in her right mind. If she would have just produced Melody from the beginning, they would have put her on a safety plan. I mean, I don't know how much CPS was involved with her prior, you know, but typically if they want you to correct something, you just correct it. They watch you for a little bit and then you move on. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if they had asked her, hey, make sure she's at school, you know, if she would have said, yes, I'll put her back in school, I'll make sure she's doing it. They might have monitored her for a couple months and then let her go on her way, you know.
Right.
There is no, but I mean, I don't know the depths of their case, or, you know, you don't know what's really in their files, if they had more than just the whole school thing. But as what they're saying is just that she wasn't in school. So if that's the case, she could have just put her in school and then she might not have got her taken away, you know.
Well, I hope we find Melody. I hope this all ends soon and it's and Melody is safe and sound. I mean, as a mom, I'm a mom. My kids are older now, but it just never really leaves you. You're a mom. This is so hard to even think of a 9-year-old little girl that's not here.
Well, yeah, and maybe who knows if she even knows what's going on right now. You know, who knows what she was told and anything else, you know.
Well, I hope the community really.
Yeah, who knows what poor Melody's thinking if she has been taken. Come on now, says Tyler. You don't agree with something that was said. I don't know what part of that you don't agree with, but yeah. The whole thing is bizarre. So let's listen to this. This will be the last video we cover for Melody Buzzard, and then we're getting into Jack and Lily, where I found some very interesting videos for y'all.
The reason I'm here right now is because of your reporting, and we're following up with any other leads that we might develop as we go.
That's private investigator Bill Garcia. He's got 30 years in the field and he specializes in missing persons cases. And now he's in Utah, retracing the same route that 9-year-old Melody Buzzard took with her mom, Ashley, through 5 states, 3,000 miles. It's a bizarre 3-day trip, complete with wig changes and switch license plates. Could Melody have been dropped off along the way? And with whom? She's been missing for more than a month. I'm Ann Emerson with Criminally Obsessed, and we have been on this case since day one. We've been tracking leads, verifying sightings, and working with law enforcement from California to Utah. Bill's working pro bono for Melody's father's family and chasing a possible sighting that could change everything.
As soon as you showed me the picture of the lady in her wig, I was like, oh, hey, I do remember that.
This is our exclusive update from the road. What Bill's finding, what investigators still won't say, and why this search for Melody is taking us deep into Utah's backcountry. Before we dive in, tap subscribe to Criminally Obsessed, and please share this video to keep Melody's story in the spotlight.
So this is where I am. If you can see that gas station back there.
So you made it to the Phillips 66 and where we were talking about in Junction, Utah.
Correct.
And what are you
Correct.
learning?
Well, I'm learning that women with purple hair is not a norm in this community. There isn't that type of hair style or color for anybody that lives in the area. So most likely it would be somebody that would be transient or just passing through, as opposed to living in this area, even though it is pretty rural.
Ashley made this trip all the way up to the Nebraska area. Is that what you're going based on, and that this was the return trip?
Well, that's what Sheriff's Department is indicating, that this is the return trip, and they haven't divulged the outgoing trip from California. But the way I see it is, if what they're wanting is information on the return trip because they saw Melody in the vehicle when the vehicle crossed from Colorado into Utah, then unless there's something specific about the outgoing trip, this would be the most important part of that road trip, because we know that Melody was in the vehicle when they crossed over into Utah, not too far from here, maybe within 100 miles.
It is a great interview. And this is what the investigator is saying. For her to drive alone 3,000 miles in 3 days seems unfathomable, which begs the question, was somebody else in that car hiding and driving round the clock? And how unwell could you be if you managed to drive that fast for that many days and back?
Wow. So that does
Wild.
give you a lot more to work with as far as where you're looking at right now based on this information.
Well, based on that, the map is a good lead, because if it's accurate, the Sheriff's Department put out a route,
yes,
which shows Ashley and Melody moving from Colorado into Utah along I-70. And then instead of staying on I-70 to Interstate 15, which would take them straight south into lower Utah and then in through Nevada and the return trip, why would they veer off of a major highway onto a rural route, which is Rural Route 89, which is kind of a back way that kind of parallels the main highway? And I think that was chosen.
I just want to remind everybody coming in now, this is the last video. We're going to do a Melody, then we're going to get into Jack and Lily, update some videos that I found very interesting that have not been really covered widely. And also at 4 o'clock Eastern today, we're doing a celebration for Donna. We're coming to have a party with us. It's going to be fun and light. Donna's getting married tomorrow. So please join us at 4 p.m. Eastern for that celebration. We'll be about 90 minutes. It'll be fun.
For some particular reason, but I don't know what it is. My biggest clue would be they want to stay off of a main interstate, even though I'm not sure that they felt that they were actually being looked for at that point. So to me, that's an interesting point or fact. That's why we started here. A couple of reasons.
But your specialty is missing children. That's what you work in. Is
Elizabeth Mesa, which is the Melody's aunt, and I started talking, and she was very adamant about finding Melody, and that really struck me as someone who wanted to do everything possible. If they could, they'd be out here instead of me. But people have lives and they've got children and families and what have you, and I'm able to make this run to at least help quell some of the emotions and frustrations that they have, because law enforcement doesn't necessarily tell them everything, and I'm here kind of to bridge that gap and provide information to both law enforcement and to the families. And we're proven. We've been at this a long time. We've had a lot of successes. We've had some really sad cases, but in the end, we at least get somewhere.
Bill, what is your feeling about this right now as you sit in the middle of Junction, Utah, following up a lead that we were able to, start to figure out a little bit? What's your next step here?
Well, it's funny. I routinely end up in the middle of nowhere. And This is probably as closest to nowhere as you can get. A lot of people like that, and it's a gateway to a couple of big national monuments, actually several national monuments. And the fact that Ashley went off of the main highway onto this rural route tells me that based with the disguises, based with the license plate changes, she may have been trying to be deceptive. And by skirting these areas, it points to a certain set of events. For instance, when Danielle Van Dam went missing, searchers searched for her for the better part of 3 weeks. I used the information that was deduced by or disseminated by law enforcement and came up with a theory. And it turned out that my theory was correct. The first location that I placed searchers at is where young Danielle Van Dam's body was found. And so a lot of times you have to put yourself in the mindset of the person who may have done some wrong. And so I used that to follow the leads.
Is there any reason why we should be worried about trafficking at this point?
Well, if you understand the points that sheriffs has indicated, to me, it leads to either drug trafficking or human trafficking.
For those of you that didn't see, I did a couple of readings on this, and I get trafficking of some sort too, which is very, very upsetting. Very upsetting if that's the case. I hope I'm wrong. But he thinks so
the
too.
things that have been
He thinks so too. And this is the guy who's been a PI for, what did he say, 30, 40 years. He solved other missing people's cases looking for Ashley or Melody, rather, on behalf of the aunt, of the paternal aunt. And he thinks trafficking too. So that's not great.
relayed
That's not great.
kind of lead in that direction. But I don't know Ashley. I don't know if she's into drugs or whether she's into human trafficking. It doesn't appear to be, but I know her very little.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping to find out here real soon.
They're so lucky to have you there right now. I mean, I can't even imagine how helpful it is to have someone with your background.
It's important.
It is. And what have you been able to learn? I mean, I know you were certainly doing work before you got here to Utah. Is there anything you can share with us as far as understanding what happened to Melody?
We didn't know where to start. This was not necessarily the initial starting point, but as we do research, as we learn more and more from the sheriff's department, as we learn from other sources, we start to develop, okay, where do we hit the ground running? And a couple of nights ago, I gained information that brought me to this area. And unfortunately, I'm not able to disclose what I learned other than this is a great starting area.
Is this the same?
I also picked up in the mountains remotely yesterday in the reading, and it sounds like, based on another video that I'm not going to play today because they've already said it here, that she went off course in Utah somewhere in the mountains. And it looks like that's where they're all narrowing in on now. But yeah, see freedom, say trafficking is the fastest illegal trade in the world. No kidding. And she was heading, yeah, I know. And she was heading to states that are known for it. So it's disgusting. I don't know. We got to get a hold of our kids. The kids that are going missing and the parents that are selling them and everything else in this country and the world, for that matter. It's wild. So we're going to watch the last 12 minutes of this video, and then we're going into Jack and Lily. I found some interesting things.
Part of the reporting that we did, KUTV did, and what Criminally Obsessed did, or is this something else?
It was really, really freaking weird because she just like opened the door at the store and like halfway poked her head in. And then she said, "Did you guys know you have a whole bunch of kittens out here?" And I was kind of surprised. And I said, "Yeah, we have a whole bunch of little feral kittens." And she said, "Okay." And then she turned around and got back in the car with the lady with the purple hair. And I was actually on the phone with my husband at the time. And I remember saying, "These two really weird ladies just came in and made a comment about the cats." And but that is like the majority of what I remember right there.
Do you have any sort of estimate on how old the woman with the purple hair was? Like whether that was someone younger or older?
She had to be probably late 20s to mid 30s would be my guess.
Okay. And did you
It was
see
another adult woman?
Okay. And did you see any signs of a child or no?
No, there's nobody else in the car that I could see.
I'm going to bring you one of my cards in, and I'd love to be able to talk to Samantha. We're trying to bring some closure, for the family, and we're hoping to find her.
There's multiple other sources, but the reason I'm here right now is because of your reporting, and I want to interview and evaluate the people here at the Phillips 66 gas station to see if that's actually a viable lead. At minimum, we know that Ashley came through here. Whether she was with the child, whether there was a purple-haired woman with her, we don't know.
Says this person with purple hair, what could it have been another wig that was on the child or Melody?
Welcome, Toronto. Thank you, honey. Thank you for joining and becoming a member. We're going to do a members video first tomorrow morning for you. That'll go public Sunday, so stay tuned for that. There's also a bunch of videos, Learn Tarot Quickly, and a bunch of channeling sessions with Sebastian and other videos that are in members that have not been released to the public. So I really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Or was it somebody else in the car? All these questions, I guess that's where you need to get answers.
That's correct. Which direction did the car leave? My suspicion was it was dark at that point. So did this person miss who else was in the car? Was this purple-haired woman sitting in the front seat? Did she move into the back seat? Where did she come from? There's a lot of questions from this particular person, as well as sharing information with other people in the area. Because typically, outsiders or non-locals are remembered, especially when they have purple hair or they obviously are wearing wigs.
No kidding.
And disguise as far as the license plate. So all that is important, and it's pretty draining, but I just try to trudge forward and not forget or miss anything as I go.
Bill, what about this false imprisonment charge that she's being held on? Could you talk to me about why you think that the law enforcement's taking this tactic and what this has to do? I mean, they're saying it's not related to the Melody disappearance, but tell me why you think that they're holding her right now.
Well, I find that hard to believe that it would not be related, being that Ashley rarely went out. If she did, she took a ride-sharing ride out and back, or she'd run a vehicle. But she didn't seem to have very many friends in the area. She didn't have any visitors, according to a neighbor, and so it has to be something connected to this matter. I've advocated for Ashley.
So if she didn't have friends, she stuck to herself. She kept the child out of the public eye. And basically this child doesn't appear to play out anywhere or go outside of the house except wearing a hoodie. Then how does she drop her off to a family member or a friend that's also keeping this quiet? It doesn't seem like a plausible theory anymore. At this point in time, that family member would be so dumb to not come forward and say, Melody's with me and safe. Like, it doesn't make sense. So that leaves, in my opinion, one of two scenarios. Something happened and she was dropped off and left abandoned, or left with a stranger.
All along, because I've seen what her history is. And anyone that's had to raise a child from the age of 6 months alone, suffering from any level of mental illness, is very difficult. And knowing
hard.
that
it's hard.
If you don't get help, it's only going to increase. So it's actually interesting that this didn't happen prior. Now, I understand that I understand that Ashley had a similar traumatizing experience at the age of 9. Well, that's interesting because here we have Melody at the age of 9. And is there any correlation? And what is it? And so we take all these factors, we kind of file them away in our brain, and we bring them up as they recur. So we're hopeful to be able to decipher. Yeah. So if Ashley talks at all without having any therapy or medication changes or what have you, it may all be gibberish, as it was when I talked to her at her home. I had taken her a care package a couple of Sundays ago. On Monday morning, the next day, I was actually able to talk to her in front of her home. And she was, for the most part, incoherent, non-responsive remarks, and then nothing. And
kind of like what we just saw when I was showing you her in court. She's just like staring like into oblivion. So it's very concerning. She's clearly unwell. The question remains, did she have help? Is there someone like, if she's that unwell, how did she drive 3,000 miles in 3 days? It's insane.
And so I worked
Insane.
as a first responder in emergency medical services for a number of years. And I often saw patients who were placed under 5150 hold. And that should have been available here, having Ashley assessed, possibly taken in-house to get therapy and treatment, so that we wouldn't be at this point this late in the game. Today is a month and a day that Melody's not been seen. October 9th was the last time she was seen. And that's a long time for a little girl to be out there somewhere. And we don't know where. We don't know if they're with someone. We don't know if something nefarious has occurred. We just don't know. So we're burning the candle, that's for sure.
So they're going to
And-
hold her. They're going to, and when you saw Ashley, she didn't really respond to you. She didn't have much, but you went to her door. Did you have a care package from the family, from Lisbeth?
No, I had conducted surveillance for a number of days. I noticed that she had not come out of the home for 3 days, not at all. She normally would come out, go to the garage, go to the mailbox, but she didn't come out at all. So on Sunday morning, I put a Walmart bag with several food items and a gift note. And it indicated who I was and that there was a group of us that wanted to help her. And we weren't there to judge her or do anything but help her in whatever she needed. But I didn't get a response. So on Monday morning, when she showed up back at the house, I showed up at 6 a.m. She had already left by a rideshare service at 5:50 a.m.
Which day was this?
Last Monday, a week ago Monday. And so I sat there, and shortly after 9 a.m., she returned in this rideshare vehicle, which turned out to be a medical shuttle van. And I'm not sure if she went to an appointment or what the deal was, but I was able to get out of my vehicle, walk up to her in the driveway, and then I followed her to the front door, talking to her as we went. And that's pretty much the only conversation I had with her.
Well, that's very interesting, because right now, like, she's not talking about where Melody is. Can you, from all of your experience, help us understand why she hasn't been able to express where this child is?
The short response would be, she may emotionally and mentally be unable to remember where she was.
That's what I
Nobody
wonder.
takes a 3,000 mile road trip in 3 days. I mean, I do a lot of driving, but 3,000 miles in 3 days for one person in her mental state, in her physical state, I find that almost impossible. So it's not good. And, we always hope for the best, but we do plan for the worst. And
It's like, was there a third person in the car hidden, that purple-haired woman that nobody saw her leaving with? Or was she just so manic she drove around the clock and doesn't remember? That's kind of where I feel like, but it is sad. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is a weird case.
the greatest gift would be to say, hey, we know where she is. We found her. Call law enforcement, have them come in and get her, and we all get to go home. And hopefully,
I mean, I think at this point, she's going to lose custody of her daughter if she doesn't speak up, if she's alive. So I don't understand why this continued not speaking, taking pictures down of her missing child. I mean, she's obviously so unwell. She's not thinking clearly, because her lawyers should be telling her just to give up where Melody is. Like, just for the love of God, just tell them where she is.
she is able to live a good life from here on out.
Thank you so much for talking to me about this. I wanted to bring up one thing that right before she got arrested for this false imprisonment charge, which we think she could get out on Wednesday on, she had moving boxes, or she had boxes that could be moving boxes. I have a lot of theories about what those boxes could have been. What do you think?
It looks like that. It looks like she may have been preparing to leave. When I first pulled up there, the garage door was open, I understand, for a long period of time, including overnight. So I was able to take a number of photographs of the interior of the garage with the garage door open from a public distance. And it looked like a number of clothing and appliances, small appliances and different items packed up and then unpacked by the initial search warrant. So it does look like she was getting ready to pack that up. But again, we don't know what her mental state was or is. And so it's hard to deduce what that was all about. So one of the things we're doing is we're passing out this flyer to residents and store owners along this route in hopes that somebody remembers seeing either one of them and then contacts the authorities. So we're hoping that that helps. And we're following up with any other leads that we might develop as we go.
Bill, how's the family holding up, Elizabeth? And I'm sure a lot of people are wondering right now how they're doing.
They're very emotionally drained. You know, in hindsight, they wish they would have done more early on, but it was Ashley's choice to kind of go away from the family and be on her own. And, you know, nobody knows why. You know, this family does care. And this is one of the groups of families that actually really take it above and beyond. I've had families that they just sit back and let everybody else do the work and don't seem to lift a finger. This family is the complete opposite. And so I'm hoping we're able to help and bring some closure for it.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay, we are done. We're moving into Jack and Lily. And as we talk, I had said at the beginning of the stream that I've been emailing back and forth with Kelly Snyder from the Find Me group to see if he would be willing to come and talk about Jack and Lily. And he said he's going to pass at this point because he's been volunteering after his retirement of 25 years in law enforcement and founded the Find Me group 25 years ago. And he's trying to just stay focused on computer work and off the social media world, So he's not going to join us, which is disappointing, but I respect that. I understand that. He's volunteers and works full-time in his retirement with the Find Me group. But I want to just read to you because I sent him a message saying, we're going to watch this with Jack and Lily now, that it's rumored that the RCMP don't want the Please Bring Me Home searching. And what Kelly wrote about that, as far as the RCMP, they will never, in big letters, change for the better. And Kelly Snyder has worked directly with the RCMP. We have in solving cases in Canada. And that's his response. As for the RCMP, they will never, in large bold, change for the better. Because I'm going to read to you that we're gonna watch some videos on Jack and Lily and a statement from Belinda that the RCMP does not want the bring you back home safely. What's the name of that firm? Pleasebringmehome.com. We're going to watch that in a little bit. Does not want them out there searching this weekend, which is whether or not they don't want them interfering in parts of the investigation that are considered evidentiary. Yeah, I know. Well, again, the Find Me group's been going on for 25 years, and Kelly Snyder, the founder, was a Secret Service agent in the United States for 25 years before this. So he knows, and we've worked with the Find Me group in Canada multiple times. And so that's his comment. I've told you before, they used to have a better reputation, not so much anymore. And it's sad. It's really sad because I don't understand how you can have a missing child case that you're still claiming the children walked out the door, but you're also at the same time offering $150,000 reward. It defies logic, and it's sad. So we're going to watch this video. Thank you to everybody that's been sending me videos on Jack and Lily. We're going to watch some different perspectives here today. And this one is really interesting. So it's Ninshi True Crime. I've never watched her before, but she does a comparison of Daniel and another very famous, now convicted criminal, and what she says is Duper's delight in Daniel. Let's watch.
Bias. If you are a follower of Hidden True Crime, she's been going through a bit of a tough time at the moment, so if you feel like just popping over to her channel to show a bit of love, I'm sure that would be greatly appreciated. So with that said, if this video is incredibly late, I apologize. But when it comes to someone like Lauren, who has a heart of gold, then if I have to sit there, honestly, it is.
Okay, let's get
On
into
the left-hand
that.
side of the screen there, you can see Shanann Watts, who is the mother, Bella, and Cece. And Shanann was pregnant at the time with a little boy called Nico. On the 13th of August, 2018, her husband, Chris Watts, smothered them all in their sleep. He put Shanann in a shallow grave, and these two little beautiful girls.
So she is comparing in this video Watts's behavior to Daniel's behavior. Chris Watts, already in jail for these crimes.
Were put in crude oil tanks. Now, I'm not for one moment suggesting this is anything like what may have happened to Lily and Jack. The reason I'm doing this video is to highlight some of Chris Watts' behaviours, which really stand out to me as being far too similar to what I'm seeing from Daniel Martel. So I wanted to share that with you in this video. So what I've done here is I've pulled out some chunks of an interview that was done by Chris Watts with media shortly after his family went missing. And I will be going through that and pausing along the way to highlight some of his behaviours that I think you are going to find incredibly familiar. I should probably also apologise. You can probably hear the air conditioner going in the background. We've got the first real day of summer here in Bendigo. So in terms of temperature Celsius, I think it got to about 32, which isn't overly hot here for Bendigo. But when you've had temperatures that have been just sort of simmering around the early to mid 20s, that jump in one day is enough to make it suddenly feel hot. So on that note, let's just jump straight into this video so I can get through it and actually go to bed at some point tonight.
Chris Watts, WATTS.
What's going on right now around your house?
Right now, it's you got K9 units, the sheriff's department. Everybody's like they're doing their best right now to figure out like if they can get a scent and see where they went. If they went on foot, they went in a car, or they went somewhere. And right now, it's just like they've been on point. They're going through the house trying to get a scent, and hopefully they can pick something up to where it's going to lead to something.
What happened?
So he's the guy that's killed his own kids, and this is how he's talking in the video. She's going to compare his language to Daniel's. Stay tuned.
I mean, she wasn't here. The kids weren't here. No, nobody was here.
I know,
Yeah,
Toronto. I know,
and
honey. Sad.
Bella and Celeste.
So, of course, if you've been following my channel for a while, you are probably well and truly familiar with the lizard lips. This is something that Daniel does also, and it is a sign of deception. This is where basically you get this physiological response. Basically, your mouth is going dry because you are lying.
Hey, Krista,
Or
sweetie.
because you are being evasive.
I just want to announce for everybody coming in, I did this live earlier today because we are doing a 4 p.m. live for about an hour and a half, only celebrating. So join us for celebration party. Donna's getting married tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern tonight. I got some planned stuff that's going to be fun for us. So please join us then at 4 p.m. We're going to wrap this up with talking with Jack and Lily, and then we've been going 2.5 hours. So if you want to get the updates on Gus Lamont and Melody Buzzard, we just finished. Go back. Barf. Go back and watch. Come on in, everybody. Hit the like and let's listen into this. We got after this, I've got some very interesting Jack and Lily videos for y'all.
Or you are trying to avoid lying. And we see this so often from Daniel.
There was no indication of anything.
And there it is. And if you watched the
Look at the
interview that
tongue.
he did on the
tongue.
Turkey show, you would have seen quite a lot of that. There was also quite a lot of that in this Running Man interview, as I like to call it, given the sign.
Are you talking about Chris Watts? This is Daniel in front of us. Daniel has yet to be formally charged. He's not even a suspect, according to the RCMP. Nobody's a suspect, according to the RCMP. The kids just walked out the backyard. But yeah, no, Chris Watts is now in jail, and he was displaying the same behavior she's highlighting about Daniel now. Chris Watts is in jail for murdering his kids.
Behind him.
And hopefully they can pick something up
That's
to where
the guy, Chris Watts.
CELESTE. Four Bella's 4, Celeste's 3.
And so, how many times did you try calling her?
I called her 3 times, texted her about 3 times just to say, what's going on. Like I did, because after I called her and texted her once, it's like, maybe she was just busy. Like she just got back. You know, like everybody's probably calling her from her trip. She just got back from Arizona.
No worries.
Let's talk about Duper's Delight. As you can see, his lips are ticking up on the outside. There's a hint of a grin there because in his mind, he's basically convinced his audience and they've got no idea that actually he's the reason his wife and children are missing. You see this quite a few times through this interview with Chris Watts. And while it's not quite as pronounced, which I find a little bit disturbing, you also see this quite often with Daniel Martel. It's something I've been pointing out for the last 5 months. I also want to point out here that while Chris Watts is masking his facial expressions to some extent here, he's got nothing on these early interviews that we saw with Daniel Martel. As you can see, it's not quite as obvious as Chris Watts, but there is definitely a little bit of Duper's Delight
Look
going
at
on
this
here.
smile.
And if you watch pretty much any interview,
Look at the smirk on his face. It's there. It's there.
that Daniel does, you're going to see this at some point in time. And then, of course, there is the lip lock, when your brain is thinking something that you don't want to say because it's going to incriminate you. And so you lock your lips and you pretty much suck them into your mouth like what Chris is doing here. It's not quite so pronounced when Daniel does it, but you will see him do it on occasion.
So just to be clear, I just was Googling Duper's Delight, and simply put, Duper's Delight is the pleasure someone feels from successfully deceiving others, which can manifest as a brief involuntary smile or smirk, especially when they think they are getting away with something. This psychological phenomena is driven by the thrill of manipulation and can reinforce dishonest behavior even without other rewards. It's not limited to criminals and can be a common experience, but for some particular individuals with certain personality traits like narcissism or psychopathy, it can become a source of significant enjoyment. So, yeah.
Do you think she just took off? Do you think?
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like, I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids.
I think one thing about this video is that you'll be able to see what I'm talking about when I talk about micro expressions, because somewhat disturbingly, these expressions are more pronounced when it comes to Chris Watts than they are with Daniel. And this is a guy who is without a doubt a psychopath. So here you have a far more pronounced version of what I refer to as the fish hook in the mouth, which I've mentioned several times when I've been talking about Daniel Martel. Like I said, with Chris Watts, they are far less hidden. He did not mask nearly as well as what Daniel Martel does. So Daniel Martel's expressions, you've really got to pay attention or you miss it. Now, in the next clip, you will need to watch Chris Watts kind of closely to catch this brief moment.
And one of these videos I'm going to show you after this, somebody dug up a 10-year-old file about Daniel Martel, so keep listening.
Because he's doing another thing here that Daniel does frequently in his interviews. Much of what he's doing here, he is directing it to the person who he's interviewing. But like Daniel, he also, throughout the interview, was quickly glancing to see if his story was hitting home with the cameraman as well. Basically checking his audience to make sure that he was selling his story enough. The other thing you will notice, which will be very familiar, is him swaying, locking his arms in this position that you can see, and occasionally the arm gets loose and does this grand gesture and then gets pulled back in. Now, we know that Daniel has decided that his helicopter arms are convincing. So Daniel takes it to an extreme. So he outdoes Chris Watts with the helicopter arms. But you can see the same thing going on here.
Got delayed from Arizona because of like other storms around the nation. So she's supposed to get home like 11. She got home at like 1:48. Got in bed about 2.
What was she going for? Like family trip? Or like...
It was a Thrive direct sales. It was a local event that was down there between a bunch of leaders in the company.
And that night, that day she was back. I mean,
I left work early that morning, like 5:15, 5:30. So like she barely got in bed pretty much.
So he was mentioning something along the lines of something
I'll
happened
watch
Thursday
for
night
it.
and your story isn't matching up.
Yeah, well, not just matching, it didn't have enough detail for him personally. And then that's when I asked him, do you know anything on the case? And he said, not really. I've seen you on the news once. And that kind of alarmed me, or, you know, shocking, because you're having somebody that's trying to get you to admit to something and they don't know any details. So
the next two clips, you'll see the same thing of basically trying to read the audience, trying to check that they've got it right. But check out the other little cues that are going on as well. See if you can spot some of the things that I pointed out earlier on in the video.
Right now, this is what they're doing right now is with the canine in the sense. I think this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing they've done so far, because yesterday the Frederick Police Department did all the searching of the house and try to gather whatever information they could. And with the detectives, officers, and sergeants, and today it's, I mean, obviously with all the activity that's around, it's there's a lot going on around here. And I really hope that all this can lead to something positive.
What did your neighbors, did they see anything? Did your neighbors see anything?
No, like we've
Yeah, the pipeline trail right here where we're standing.
mm-hmm. They did. I mean, they spent every hour they could searching, not, you know, planning or anything like that. I mean, they were boots on the ground, just doing whatever they could.
If somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
That's it. I can take that mic off you.
I'm still holding out hope. I don't know why they didn't find anything from Jack's pull-up or to her backpack or any of her belongings at all. They just haven't found anything.
So this was admittedly a shorter video than usual, but I just wanted to point out, after seeing that latest interview with Daniel Martel where he was doing the swaying with the arms crossed and the crossing the arms and then releasing it for a bit of a helicopter arm and then putting it back in, and you saw in that one clip that I showed that he didn't even get as far as actually locking the arms in before he whacked out with another helicopter arm. To me, I think the thing that is most unsettling is not so much the number of similarities between his body language and that of Chris Watts, but more so that with Daniel, we're looking more at micro expressions. They are far less pronounced. And if you're not paying attention, you miss them. And like I said, that is in comparison with a guy who is undoubtedly a psychopath, who ended his entire family, his wife, his unborn baby boy, and his 2 daughters. And I'm not even going to discuss, those of you who know the case know what I'm talking about, but I'm not even going to discuss how he got those babies into that crude oil drum thing, because the hole in the top was quite small. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this video. I will be back tomorrow.
Okay, let's watch the next one here. Some Jack and Lily, interesting videos. Just interesting, different perspectives to take. Yeah, she is probably pretty bang on. And I know Mike DeMann has also talked about Duper's Delight. So this is Mike MX1. He is not yet monetized. He's apparently in the UK or whatnot, but has some interesting perspectives on this case that I thought were worth listening to, and they're short clips. But and then
the Jack and Lily's case, I've done a lot of research because that's what I do. I look back into the past of what happened previously and trends, and I grind through numbers and facts and figures. And a while ago, I was looking back through court records and stuff like that, just trying to gauge the kind of level of
now listen to this. This is super interesting.
Thing that was going on in Pictou County. And I did find something. And I'll just elaborate on that a little bit now. About 10 years ago, a young fellow from the New Glasgow area.
I know, she's so sweet.
He took it upon himself to...
Okay, so he's researched 10 years ago and found this story about Daniel Martel 10 years ago. Listen up.
Self to sell illicit substances, and he was caught with a measuring device in his vehicle, and he was also brought to a station and tested for these illegal substances, and he failed the test. So inevitably he was brought to court, and as well as that,
Oh yeah, Krista, keep
this
listening.
charmer,
Keep listening. So 10 years ago, he was a user and a dealer and brought to court, and it gets even more interesting. Keep listening.
assaulted his then girlfriend. He threw an item of footwear at her. He pushed her down. And he was given an undertaking in the court to not do that again. But he didn't. He contacted her again, and more
Sound
trouble,
familiar? Sound
and
familiar?
threatened a member of her family that tried to defend her with unaliving by a blade. And this charmer was in his 20s at the time, about 10 years ago. So this gent is in his 30s now. And if I'm correct, this gent, this previous substance dealer with assault and a really bad attitude towards anybody, it seems, arrived at the search on Saturday to look for Jack and Lily. Or is that really why they went there? Anyway, this information is all out there. And as soon as people put two and two together, they'll start to get the picture of what actually happened.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but this is even more concerning if Mike MX1 here, whose next video we're going to watch, researched and found 10-year-old evidence of Daniel Martel, allegedly, according to Mike, having been arrested and charged for distributing rugs, having something that you weigh rugs with in your car, and then attacking his girlfriend at the time with a knife. How are the police so sure these kids walked out the door? It's unbelievable that a man that doesn't even live in Canada, this man, Mike MX1, isn't even Canadian and managed to find this out about Daniel Martel. Very, very curious. Here's another video that talks about the night at the blanket, and it's a different perspective, and it's also fascinating. Let's watch it.
Okay, going to take a little different walk on McLeod Road here today. Lately, within the last 3 months, the Google car has drove down McLeod Road, and it's got some decent high-resolution images of the area. And a couple of things people might notice if they check the area. We'll just get down here to street level. We'll have a proper look. Okay. We're on the bridge. And we'll get a look down at the water. Okay.
For those just coming in, I have this video, another short one, and then another one that I want you to listen to, which is the last one is the fascinating one. But they all are fascinating, but more fascinating. And yeah, we're going to do a 4 p.m. Eastern live. We're going to just be an hour and a half because we're not going to talk true crime. We're celebrating Donna's getting married tomorrow. So join us for that. And stay tuned for the next half an hour, maybe 20 minutes of Jack and Lily.
There's a fairly good view of the water. doesn't look to be a whole lot in it. It's only a few inches. And this picture, this image was about 3 months ago. And if we go back to the hydrometric data for this river, the Middle River, there is only one close station to here, and it's about 10 miles downstream. But at the time, the river levels were extremely low. It was like 31 centimeters at their measuring gauge in Rockland. That's about a foot in imperial measures. And the actual cubic volume per second was extremely low. It was like 0.02 of a cubic meter, which is very low. But that river, back on the 1st and 2nd of May, the levels weren't very high compared to April beforehand. There was almost flood conditions in that river. But on the 1st, 2nd of May, you still had a relatively low level, but still it was much higher than this picture depicts now. It was like, what was it? It was nearly 2 foot. It was 22 inches measured at Rockland. And the cubic volume per second was 1.7 cubic meters, 1.7 cubic meters of water per second. So the flow back on the 2nd and 1st of May was quite a lot. This river was totally different than here. The likes of that big rock there at the edge would have likely been covered, and the middle channel of this river would have been flowing like white water looking. Okay, just get that out of the way. I'm not saying the children went in there, but it's a possibility, and if they did, they would have been carried downstream. A couple of other things. Okay. Over here. You see, we move up further a bit and get a look back at it. Okay. Okay, right in there, there's a marker. And as far as I can work out, the yellow star, the holographic little star was found below that, in that vicinity, in that area. And I'll just say, like, for the RCMP searching, it's very hard to determine what's evidence and what's not, because the area does have rubbish strewn in it. Like, you don't have to look too far to see rubbish in the sides of the road. Like, the stuff is there. What's evidence and what's not? It's like anywhere. It's very hard to tell. Anyway, we'll leave it there for now. Take care.
Okay, last one from Mike, and then we're gonna watch the one that I found yesterday that is also very suspicious and interesting. Well, suspicious is not probably the right word. Corroborating, telling.
Okay. Going for a little walk and thinking about Jack and Lily. And just thinking about the main character and who it reminds me of. And from way back, a long time ago, 20 plus years, there was a case where there was 2 little girls and they went missing. And this guy, he had moved to this area where these children went to school, and he had secured himself a job as a school caretaker. And this guy just looked like, you know, an average guy,
was clean cut. He even managed to get himself a girlfriend in the area, and she was like kind of a substitute teacher. Just from memory. And this guy, as it turned out, had a checkered past, but it was kind of a gradual build. He was being progressive in his bad deeds, and he turned out to be a proper bad lad. And these two innocent girls suffered a horrendous fate at the hands of this monster. I'm not saying the main protagonist of this case, as in Jack and Lily's, I'm not saying he's this kind of monster, but it's just this monster that I'm previously talking about. It just reminds me of him. I'll just put in this little clip here, and in the description I'll reference where I got the video.
Joy looking and talking into the cameras and can look completely normal, which was the message that I really wanted to get out of this video. Now we're going to move to the last video I have here. I did have another link, but I'm just going to tell you because for some reason I forgot to include it. I was watching Charmaine's video yesterday, Charmaine's live. She used to be the mod. I didn't know that. She used to be the mod because I don't follow a lot of the channels because I try to do things differently here. Until I've created my own theory, I like to not be influenced. And now that I'm pretty certain on my theories in this case, I'm looking more into this. So what Char said yesterday was she read a clip from Belinda, a message from Belinda directly that said, which is what referenced was what Kelly was referencing. And that is, there's been a dynamic in the Please Bring Me Home group. And Belinda has now hired the woman that was working for Please Bring Me Home. It's rumored that Malaya's family, she just says the family, I'm suspecting Malaya's family and maybe Daniel's family did not like the woman that was working for Please Bring Me Home, according to Belinda. So Belinda has now had her attorney hire this woman. But the part that is the more concerning piece that Kelly was referencing is Please Bring Me Home. Apparently, the RCMP have asked them to stay out of the buildings and to not search. They are searching for 2 missing kids. Now listen to this narrative and make it make sense. That the RCMP have failed to find, that the RCMP still stand behind in their narrative, walked out the door, and they don't want this group searching any buildings. Please Bring Me Home as restricted this weekend to only searching waterways, and we just saw how low the waterways are. So make that make sense. Make that make sense. And that was the part that Kelly was referencing. The RCMP will never change. They are control freaks like Daniel. They are absolute control freaks. Unless they are doing evidentiary research in the barns and all the outbuildings still, why would they not allow this group to go search those barns and buildings and preclude them only from allowing and only allow them to search waterways when their own narrative is the kids just walked out the backyard? No, not that I'm aware of, Tyler, which is why it begs the question. It doesn't make much sense. So I'm going to rewind this. I don't even remember what this clip's about, but I deliberately listened to Char last night to bring that to you. And then for some reason, because I had a lot of clips here today, misplaced that link on where the timestamp was. And the other interesting thing that Char was talking about last night, Durwood, Dirty Durwood denied. Okay, remember the whole Durwood's son, Jordan, has been going off the rocker, losing his mental health. That was showed last night on Charmaine's channel. Losing his crap, going absolutely bonkers, and playing odd clips and posting weird lives with weird satanic crazy music in the background. This is Durwood's son, who I believe is Uncle Larry in my vision. And apparently Durwood came out and lied and told the police when somebody witnessed Thursday, the day before the kids went missing. It was said that there was a witness that saw Malaya, Daniel, and the 3 kids on Jordan Getty's at his property that day before, on their way home or on their way in to do all those errands. They were said to have dropped off, yes, at Derwin's son's house, yes. And I took a picture of that for you because I was intending on showing you the live and somehow lost it. So I'm going to show you that picture because now Durwood's coming out saying that's a lie. It wasn't Daniel and Malaya. It was other kids. No, Durwood has already admitted, and I have the clip for you. He has already, the picture, already admitted. Yes, Uncle Larry. Yes, yes. Yes. Uncle Larry, in my vision, is Durwood's son. Yes. And, okay, so Durwood wrote, let me just show you this bigger. I don't know if you'll be able to see it with my background. Let me just remove my background. I'm in my bed just because it's comfortable. Not that I'm in my pajamas or anything like that. I just thought I'd do a nice little background. Let me just remove this for you so you can see this. Okay. This is Durwood O'Grady, who posted on Facebook. So he's been coming after Charmaine, I guess Charmaine is her name. He's been coming after her and saying, coming after that she's lying and everything. So she called him out on her live last night, and they went to when he called in Dolly's, and they got the transcript of when they called in Dolly's. And Durwood says, oh, yeah, they stopped by Jordan's Thursday after Daniel dropping off tools or something from the truck. Jordan knows Daniel forever. Odd jobs or something. Hang on. Jordan knows Daniel forever since the boy was 14 working odd jobs. They was in Westville, popped in quick. Meadow was there. Kids playing out front, maybe. Normal family stuff. Why is that a big deal? Why is that a big deal? Well, he lied to police, and he's now calling Charmaine a liar when he called it in himself on Dolly's show. I tried to find the live stream myself last night. Charmaine has not been able to locate. I know I heard Dolly say he sent it to the police, so Dolly might have privatized it, but they did find the chat when they Googled it that came up from Durwood's call. Dolly then says, Jordan called last week and swore he never met the kids. Never seen them in my life. RCMP showed up at his place checking a tip, but about the kids in the yard, and he melted down. You buy that? Dolly says to Durwood. Durwood says, Jordan, good kid, 33 now, works 14 hours a day. He didn't know Malaya or the little ones personal, like, keeps to himself. But yeah, they swung by. Tips bullshit. Well, how can you say in the same sentence they swung by, but the tips bullshit? That they don't coincide. Those are not the same thing. That is not possible, Derwood. They can't be both there and then the tip have been a lie. The tip said they saw them at Derwood's son's house the day before, and Derwood admitted it before on Dolly's live. What the F were they doing there? I told y'all, Derwood's involved in this, and they were planning shit. They were planning shit. I suspect that Daniel and Jordan, Derwin's son, had a private conversation that Malaya was not privy to hearing. That's what went down. So Derwin sighs and he says that. But yeah, they swung by, but the tip's bullshit. Well, how is it bullshit if they swung by? Probably his niece or nephew out front. So I hope the RCMP have this clip of Derwood. I hope the RCMP have this clip of Derwood, and I hope they know Derwood's lying. Derwood, little ones personally keeps to himself, but yeah, they swung by. Tips bullshit. Probably his niece or nephew out front. You just told us that Malaya was there with the kids. RCMP's chasing shadows. Bless them. I told them everything. Been in 3 times. Got drone protection now, and he laughs. They're watching me because I'm stirring the pot. Yeah, they're watching you because you're creepy as fuck. And you've likely done something, just in my opinion. So Dolly says, drone protection, that's surveillance, right? Folks think you're getting heat for pointing at Malaya. Justin and Mackenzie. Step grandma, back you up. And then Derwood says, Janie's solid. Heard screaming that morning. Lily's voice, dog barking, told me straight. She didn't buy the Woods story. And yeah, heat's on. People showing up at my old excavation yard. Drones over the house. But I started talking before the $150,000 reward. Well, why are you even bringing up the reward? No one's even talking about the reward. Ain't about the money, just helping the family find truth. Really? Is that what you're doing, Derwood? Because I think the amount of lies that come out your mouth show that you are not helping anybody here, Betty. You are not helping anybody, but trying to dissuade the truth from fiction is what your narrative is. Yeah, LOL, cuss jar. No kidding. Send it to the RCMP and record everything and hold them accountable. Follow up every day. Yeah, I'll send it and make sure that they know that Derwood did go out that way. But let's listen to this. This is the last video on Jack and Lily, and then we're going to see everybody at the 4 p.m. party for Donna's wedding celebration. This is, I don't even remember what she's talking about here because I was researching all day yesterday. Tomorrow, you're going to see one reading go out to public and one go out to members first. And then that one will be public on Sunday. I am doing 2 readings. We are going to do Dylan Ethler, who also mysteriously vanished in Truro, Nova Scotia. And I'm going to do Amy Bradley, who disappeared on the cruise ship. We have another lady that disappeared on the cruise ship just this last week. Well, she was dead. She found dead the Friday morning the day before they docked. So listen in. This is Hidden in the Fog, and she's talking about some of this stuff. Let's listen up.
Yeah, there's 19 votes now. 95% yes, no to.
She's trying to tell everybody whether she should repeat what she's just read. Oh, this is the clip. And because some people missed it, so I'm just going to skip forward when she starts to read it. Here we go.
I don't even know how to get the stupid poll off. Oh, here we are. There we go. Okay. 91% says yes, 9% says no. So, okay. Oh, where did it go? Okay. So, here is my question to Belinda. I saw a post of yours stating you have hired a lawyer who has hired a private investigator. What can you tell me about that? And the Chrissy, who is actually Tambourine mentioned her last name up here, Travers, who is Chrissy Travers. And the Chrissy you refer to in your post, are you referring to Christina Inrig? I can't recall her last. Okay. She never worked for Please Bring Me Home. I understood she was simply working with them. Can you shed some light on this? And what exactly is the role of the private investigator? I know you were looking at a number of avenues, the RCMP investigation, the CPS investigation, prior to the children going missing. Or is there a role more, or is their role more of an investigative one into the specific disappearance? So Belinda says, it most certainly is not Christine Inrig. Okay. So she's not talking about Christine Inrig at all. She's talking about Chrissy Travers, who's looking at the case itself and what might have happened. It seems family involved really don't care much for her. She was the investigator for Please Bring Me Home. But police told the group that it was an ongoing investigation and did not want their involvement. And I said about that, I think that's disgusting. This is so typical of the RCMP. With that, so the group talking about Chrissy Travers, who's looking at the case itself and what might have happened. It seems family involved really don't care much for her. She was the investigator for Please Bring Me Home. But police told the group that it was an ongoing investigation and did not want their involvement.
This is coming out of Belinda. They do not want their involvement. They are headed there this weekend. It's Friday at 1:10 p.m. Eastern. This is our last video for the day before we see you at 4 p.m. 10 more minutes here. But they don't want them out there this weekend. And they have restricted them to water searches. And that's where Kelly responded in my email just now, because I told him that. And he said, as far as the RCMP, they will never, in large letters, change for the better.
And I said about that, I think that's disgusting. This is so typical of the RCMP. With that, so the group agreed to just search waterways, and Chrissy disagreed with that. So she stepped away from the group to work for my lawyer as my lawyer's private investigator.
She's reading Belinda's message to her. This is Belinda's message to her. She's reading.
Okay.
So Belinda's telling us they don't want,
Does that make
RCMP
sense?
does not want them out there. RCMP does not want them out there. So the girl that was working for Please Bring Me Home quit as a volunteer and is now working as a private investigator for Belinda's lawyer because the RCMP said they were restricted to searching the waterways, which she disagreed with, this volunteer. So she's joined to help Belinda. And I can't say I blame her. Tell me how that makes sense. If they just walked out the backyard, what could they possibly interfere with? There's no investigation going on, is there? For a criminal element, you're just looking to bring the kids home and you have yet to find them. What possibly could they be doing to disrupt the case? Unless your narrative to the public about it not being a criminal case and that they just walked out the backyard is not honest to the public, which is what I think. And so are they trying to still search barns in the local area? Are they doing investigative work they don't want them interfering with? That's the only excuse that makes sense, but why not tell them that? Wild.
I think it's really disgusting that the RCMP would not allow another, but it's so typical of them. Well, she didn't say what her lawyer is saying on all this. I've just read to you what Belinda has said. Belinda, so what I can say is that the private investigator, who is Chrissy Travers, who did work for Please Bring Me Home, Chrissy has been hired by Belinda's lawyer. Okay.
I sent an RCMP another email this morning. No response from the new guy on the case. That's several times I've emailed him. Hasn't responded to me once. He was away though. He was away, or she was away. No, it's a he based on the first name. So yeah.
Tambourine, no. Chrissy Travers was an investigator for Please Bring Me Home, yes, but stepped away to work for Belinda's lawyer. So Chrissy is a private investigator, essentially. And what happened was, when the RCMP refused to work with Please Bring Me Home on their terms, and Please Bring Me Home said, okay, well, then we'll just look in the waterways. Chrissy basically, from Belinda's message, basically said, screw that. I'm not buying into that. And then Chrissy has been hired now by Belinda's lawyer as a private investigator.
Wild. Disappointed in the RCMP here.
Yes, she's working. So Chrissy Travers is working with Belinda's lawyer.
Again, the only narrative that would make sense to me is they are still doing evidentiary, evidence. They're checking in on some of these buildings that they might be searching in and still collecting evidence, which would be an interference of the collection of evidence by trampling in the buildings and tainting their ability to get prints or whatever. So that would make sense, but they're still calling it nothing to see here case. The kids walked out the back door. So that, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, I'm going to send that clip, that photo screenshot I sent, just to say, apparently Durwood's told you that he wasn't at the kids at that Malia and Daniel were not at Jordan's house the day before. Also on Char's live last night, someone, when she was talking about this clip about Durwood and that she found that, yes, he did say that they were out there visiting his son the day before they went missing. Somebody said locally they heard, now listen to this one, because I directly called them out. Jordan, Uncle Larry, Durwood, and Daniel had a secret meeting the other day. Somebody local said they saw Jordan, Durwood's son, Durwood, and Daniel was in a secret meeting the other day. I don't know if that's true. That's just a rumor. Okay. I don't know if that's true, but I have a feeling it is, because they are saying weird things right now. If you're watching the Facebook posts, which I can only get from elsewhere because I've been permanently blocked for some crazy reason in Canadian Facebook, having not used Facebook for years. So weird. I apparently violated some community standards while I wasn't on Facebook for years. But the posts are going wild right now. And I really think some of the posts that have been made by Durwood, and like this plea to come out publicly, and whoever's got the kids and stuff, I talked about it on the last live. These are almost calling cards to, in my opinion, the perpetrators are being watched. They know by drone, by phone, so text and phone calls. So they're sending out messages to one another through public social media. That's just my opinion. So when you see some of the posts, tell me if you get that vibe from Janie and Durwood right now, pleading for the person that I think is also holding these kids to not do anything to them, to show proof of life, because they can't just pick up the phone and text or call one another because they know they're being monitored.
As a private investigator, into the whole disappearance of the children, by the sounds of it, because when Chrissy Travers was working with Please Bring Me Home, and they wanted to go search and take on the case, the RCMP said, no, butt out, fuck off. This is an open investigation. This open investigation thing is bullshit, because they use it every time they need to protect their investigative work. So this is why, like, the RCMP do not allow private investigators or anybody from outside of their organization anything. And they'll say, oh, it's to protect the integrity of the investigation. It's still an open investigation. The problem is they'll be saying that in 15 years from now. Yeah, Marlene, and they have said, Please Bring Me Home has said that their search is going to be focused on the waterways and the rivers and streams. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really good news.
So yeah, we'll end it there. It's great news that Belinda has a private investigator now, a lawyer rather, and a private investigator. But it's just disappointing that they're only going to be out there this weekend searching the waterways that have now dried up. So not likely going to find very much unless these kids were buried under the water, in the ground under the water, which would be really hard to do in May because the ground would have probably still been quite frozen. And that's another thing to think about whether they were buried. Being a Canadian here, early May 2nd, you know, they probably could have got a few feet down, but you're not digging really far down, because I think the ground would have still been considerably, you know, quite frozen potentially. I'm trying to remember back on the weather we had last year. But anyways, okay, everybody, thank you for being here. Do all the YouTubey things. Please join us at 4 p.m. Eastern. We are having a party, no case talk, just celebration, party mode for Donna, who's getting married tomorrow. I've got some fun things organized for an hour and a half. So we'll see you at 4 p.m. Eastern for the party for Donna's wedding tomorrow. Hit the like, everybody. And thank you for being here. And we will see you all at 4. Love and light. And I'll be doing 2 readings that go out this weekend. Love and light. Thank you, everybody. See you at 4.